think Jimbo's that great of a coach. I know a lot of people do. I don't. His game day coaching is suspect to me.
That's it.
It's amazing to me. I mean, if your profession is to be a football coach, all right, like in anything else, we got into broadcasting. We should know something about how to do this. It doesn't seem that way probably to people that are tuning in and maybe weren't familiar with our work. But, there's something going on here that we understand is part of the pattern of being a professional broadcaster, believe it or not. Believe it or not, all right? But, I mean, you should know everything there is to know about the job. Whether you want to follow those principles or not, whether you want to practice them, whether you're capable of using them, whether you think they're all bullshit and you should just do your own thing, you should thoroughly understand, after years of being in the business, your profession. And I know a lot of this is subjective, and look, you have to make these decisions, like the thing with the Denver Broncos coach, Hackett, right?
I mean, come on.
Hackett, you got to crack it, man. He's now gone back in hindsight and admitted that trying a 90-yard field goal is probably a mistake, as opposed to going for a 4th and 5 with Russell Wilson, the guy that they brought in there for exactly this purpose. They didn't bring this kicker in to kick 65-yard field goals. They brought Russell Wilson in to help them win games.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
Yeah. We made it to our favorite day of the week, a Degenerate Friday here on the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubitz with you on South Florida Live. And we have many things to get to and approach on the program today. Of course, we have our full lineup of degenerates and degenerate helpers, as we'll talk to the Greek and see how the Greek manages to deal with this week and the odds and ends that are on the table. Also, Mark Lawrence of PlaybookSports.com going to join us. Hasn't hit his stride yet with the underdogs. But as you said, Lubie, and how are you, by the way, Mike Lubitz? I know you're going through just meticulous negotiations and all kinds of machinations about that's a tough one, right? Buying a home and selling a home. Now, did it strike you all of a sudden, hey, we're going to buy this house? Because, you didn't have your house on the market until like yesterday. Yeah. And then you had to do a lot of hustling during the Mike Mayo Lunchbox Hour to the point where we weren't sure if you were going to join us or not. Because we saw you outside. And it is true, when you're on the phone, I'm not sure that it's always a matter, that involves a lot of serious details. But you are like a third base coach when you're on the phone talking to somebody. When you walk outside and then you're doing all the gestures and everything. And I swear to God, I thought about stealing second while you were out there. I really did. Could have sworn I saw the sign. But you had the wife showing the house and people were lined up. I mean, you had barely even gotten the ink dry on the for sale sign that you made up yourself, planted it in the front yard. And then what? You had like a bunch of looky-loos? How did that go?
We don't have we have a townhouse. We don't have a for sale sign. I don't even know how that would even work. Yeah, well, we've been looking at houses for a long time. Shirley wanted to do it. I guess I don't know what the order you're supposed to do it in, but she wanted to make sure we had a house we liked before we put our house on the market. And then eventually, like last week, I was like, look, it's time. Let's just put on the market, see what's going on, because the market's moved a little bit.
Yeah.
So
downward, by the way, a little tougher for the seller.
It's come, which is good for the buyer, though. And it had jumped so high that the prices were ridiculous. We waited for it to come down a little bit, found some homes we like. So we put it on the market. We're under contract on a house we like, and we're we're in inspection period, and that's such a fun time. And
do you think the inspection does the inspector actually look at anything?
Oh no,
you always find the things that are wrong with the house after the inspection, which routinely you pass. I mean, rarely does a guy say, well, except for these rats in the attic, you're pretty much good to go. I don't know. I always find the inspection to be somewhat, just a bunch of BS. What do you think? Do you think they actually look at anything?
Well, this guy was very detailed. You will always move in and find stuff like, how did he not?
Oh, there's a wall missing.
That 100% happens.
How did he miss that? The inspector.
At least he found a lot of the stuff, and then we're working on it. We're trying to figure it out. The house didn't find shape. It's just there's some stuff that's a little annoying. But on our end, we listed it yesterday, and it was. For our first day, we had 3 showings yesterday, and we have 3 more today.
Oh yeah, wow.
I mean, at least there's activity, and people seem to like the place, which would make this whole thing a lot easier. But yeah, so it's a weird process, and especially on top of that, not only you're selling and buying, but I'm the agent, so it's more of a pain in the ass. And like, this isn't my job. This is like
a year ago, your townhouse would have been gone already. That would have been a
Oh
bidding war.
yeah. We would have had, but the problem is we would have had to pay probably another seven. We probably had to pay about 70 grand more for the house we're getting. So
Yeah.
I'd rather it take a little longer as long as it goes in the first month.
Six of this, half a dozen of the other. That's the way this all works out.
Exactly.
Remember when appraisers, like going back to just before the crash of 2008, the real estate market crash? I guess everything crashed. It was recession city. But remember when appraisers would just give you any number? You know, you'd say, "Hey, can you get me 500,000 on the appraisal?" The guy would go, "Yeah, sure." So you come back with like 375, and you just say, "As Jersey Kyle would, present the problem. Give me another number." And whatever it was, you needed it to be. Yeah, sure. This thing's worth like 800 grand. No problem. Go borrow all the money you want. I kind of got caught up in that. Because, as I said, and it still rings very loudly in my ears, as my father told me in 2008. He said, the good news, Jeff, is you own 3 houses, and the bad news is you own 3 houses, which turned out not to be as fortunate for me as it looked like the prospects were at the time. Remember, everybody was flipping everything. You would buy something that hadn't even been built yet, and before they even laid down the first brick of the foundation or the first block of cement, you were selling it for $100,000 profit. But and that was going on, I guess, like a year ago.
It's been going
where
on.
The housing market was really tight.
For 3 or 4 months, it's finally slowed down a little bit, but it got worse in 2008. Houses were we were seeing houses that sold for 400 something thousand in 2020 when the market was strong. It wasn't a bad market, and in 2022 are selling for 650. It's like, how do you make 250,000 in 2 years? And then a lot of these houses didn't even do anything to them. It's not even like they upgraded.
Yeah. Same trash bin. In fact, you might have even taken a wrecking ball to the place, and it was actually worth more money. Anyway, good luck with all of that.
Thank you,
I know it can get a little bit hairy. It's always good if you just have the cash to buy the place. That works out a lot better than dealing with and banks now. Boy, they scrutinize virtually everything.
That's what
so I was applying for a loan about a year ago. Before I ended up just buying this joint, it turned out, unfortunately for us, we got canned from our job, which really, it consisted, of almost, I would say, I would be lucky if it was 8% of my pay, the money I was making from the radio station, because we were kind of running our own business out of the radio station. At least I was. And you were partaking in a lot of that also, Mike Lubitz, because the salary they were paying you was embarrassingly low for the position. And fortunately, we were able to capitalize on some of our good, loyal sponsors over the years who had followed us, at least, on my end, in other endeavors on the radio. And it was great. But as soon as all of a sudden this job wasn't there anymore, which comprised, as I said, about 7-8% of my income, everybody was, oh my God, I can't believe you don't have a job. Like if I had been working at McDonald's for like, I don't know, what are they paying now? $15 an hour?
Actually, yeah, they pay more than a lot of.
They would have lent me any amount of money in the world, right? So it didn't matter that I was doing all right. It came down to, the fact that all of a sudden I wasn't employed at iHeart Radio, where, I was maybe grabbing off, a few dimes a year, and that was it. And I ended up having to go in another direction, which was fine because in the long run it ended up saving me money. But there you have it. I mean, just a constant nuisance when the bank calls you and says, "Do you have a W-2 form from 1996? It shows here that you were working in August." So I don't have these forms.
Surely
I got to call. This is a good one. I'll give you a financial story that, and I never know how to handle this because it's been a while since I've been involved with calls from collection agencies. There was a time I stiffed a couple of credit card companies, or had various things that were in dispute, and all of a sudden it goes to a collection agency, and they're relentless, right? But in this case, this is out of the blue. I got a call about something that transpired 12 years ago that for my money, and money being the key there, it was resolved and finished. I had forgotten about it. I mean, I still remember what transpired, but, as far as I was concerned, there was zero debt and no record of it whatsoever. Spoke with the attorneys from the people that I was having my dispute with. And I told the guy, hey, look, I mean, if you're going to, come after me for this amount of money you claim I owe, I'm going to go ahead and sue you for the fraudulent premise under which I signed this contract. And I had spent plenty of money with these people. And so, as far as I was concerned, it was a wash. So never heard anything about it for 12 years, and all of a sudden, this collection agency is calling me about this alleged debt, which I wouldn't think there was any record of anyway, because this was eventually resolved verbally between an attorney and me when we spoke on the phone. And I said, if you want to pursue this, fine. I'm going to go ahead and pursue a countersuit. And the guy said, well, you know what? Why don't we just call it a day? And that was it. So now, what do you do in that spot? Do you call the guy back? Do you give him the details? Because once you call these people back, now they're really into it.
Yep.
And yet, I mean, they have, just outrageous, seems like power to do hideous things, these collection agencies. If they don't contact you in writing, though, is there really anything that can be done? I don't know. I mean, obviously, everybody knows that if you lose a judgment, it's almost impossible to collect. But in this case, and it happened to a friend of ours. I'll leave the name out but it would be a person that normally was incurring financial difficulties at the time and needed this like a hole in the head. Another problem. Some collection agency tried to contact him, and he ignored everything. I guess he had a court date, and they got the judgment, and they started garnishing his wages. In Florida, the collection agency has that kind of power where they end up like garnishing your wages, which seems ridiculous, and with no response from him. Now he should have shown up for this court date. Obviously, that would have helped. But I have received nothing. I don't know. What would you do? Will you just ignore it completely? Because there is no basis for me to be paying any kind of a debt. In fact, I've dealt with these people since subsequently, and no mention was ever made that, hey, you owe us money. Nothing was ever said about that. Now, why would they come back to you and have you dealing with them again if you were in debt to them for 12 years for some money that, it was so seriously in arrears that they had to sick somebody on you to try and collect it? What do you think, Libby?
Well,
Strange situation.
I know collections is a weird thing. I get neurotic about credit, so I usually will pay stuff because it's usually stuff I knew I had. I've only had to deal with collections a couple times, and it was something that just got lost in the shuffle. It wasn't a big deal, so I paid for it. But yeah, I know that if you just sort of ignore it, I don't know if it goes away per se, but I know that there's a reason why they're aggressive like that, because they know they have nothing on you. So they have to pretend like
there's no foundation for me to pay any money to
Andy
anybody
said
on this
it.
one.
I
Yeah.
mean, Andy knows
Statute of
money.
limitations, you would think, would be up, right? Although I don't know that it applies. Is it that they're bringing this case up again, whatever it is? There was no case originally. And the organization I was dealing with would have been very inclined to go ahead and sue you and try and seek a judgment themselves at the time if they were interested in pursuing this. There's no way they would have let this go for 12 years and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, some collection agency, and these collection agencies, they just buy debt from different companies, and they hope to find a guy, some sucker that pays.
Yeah.
That was a strange one. But it bothers me, right, having people chase me. I really don't like it.
I hate it. I hate it.
The last time I was in a dispute like this with a collection agency was over, it was around the time of like Hurricane Wilma. And I had changed my television service, and I was returning the boxes or whatever the equipment that they had. Now you just put it with the like UPS, and you get a receipt, and that's it. But because it was like a very, very strange, almost Twilight Zone atmosphere, permeating town there at the time, a guy came to my door, and I gave him the stuff. He claimed he represented the cable company. I don't know, that it could have been some scam, but, he gave me a receipt for the equipment, but I subsequently lost the receipt because I didn't even think about it. And then a couple of years later, they tried to sue me for like $1,000, saying that I never returned this equipment. And they can screw with you, though. They put it on your credit report, all kinds of crazy stuff. And you're like, how could I owe you this money when I gave you your stuff back? They go, well, do you have a receipt? I'm like, no, man, we had like a hurricane. Everything, is helter-skelter here in the house. I can't find shit. I can't even find my insurance policy. So, and that ended up, being unresolved, at least on my end, but it did kind of sit there on my credit report for a while, which,
that's my favorite. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, finally, after years of screwing people, I have impeccable credit, which
that's good. Good for you.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened. Statute of limitations.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, I want to stick with that. I love the statute of limitations.
Exactly.
And I think it should be applicable in all situations, including money that you owe your bookmaker. Did you watch the Cleveland Steelers game last night?
A
Cleveland
bit of it
Steelers.
until it was over, until they scored that late touchdown in the fourth, and I was like, okay, I think this is done. It was.
I eked out a victory there. I was laying 4.5 in my personal bookmaking wagering war with Francesco, laying 4.5 with the Cleveland Browns. So I felt like the game was on ice, although, wow, there's always a way to get beat, isn't there? Like you need a first. Did you see the end? It was agony, and then it did not affect. I thought that this was going to impact the over/under, because what's the worst thing that can happen other than overtime? Some fugazi play, like the Steelers ran at the end of the game, results in a touchdown for the other team with no time left, and so the Browns tacked 6 points onto their total and 6 points onto the general total in the game. But the game had already gone over, because I think the over-under was 38 and a hook.
Good for Alex Frean yesterday. Ken and I were talking with him, and he just throws in over tonight. And Ken and I were like, yeah, that's the thing is, like, they could probably go under, but if it happens early, then you can't watch the game anymore. At least over, you can pretty much watch the entire game hoping that you get there.
Well, he would have been in there, I mean, with a miracle if it had been, just a slightly different number. If it was 41, the over-under, you were a loser until the final play, when a guy falls on a fumble in the end zone after one of those lateral plays where there was zero chance. Plus, on top of that, it took him a half hour to decide whether or not Cleveland had made what would have been a game clinching. They had already pretty much won the game. The only thing that was really up in the air was the point spread, in case the Steelers got some miracle touchdown. But Cleveland would have retained the ball. They had a 3rd and 1. Looked like they made, no, they had, I guess, a 4th and 1. Looked like they made the first down. And they did not. So the ball went over on downs, I think, to the Steelers, and that's how they ended up. Well, they ended up punting in that situation. Steelers got the ball back. Otherwise, those points never go on the board. And wow, what a tough way that would have been to be defeated, but turned out to be inconsequential to the over/under. Which, when that first happened, I'm looking at it going, "Oh my God, that's going to destroy a lot of people." And or make a lot of people happy. I mean, it's like getting a double disqualification in a horse race where somehow they put the 3rd place finisher up first, and you're like, wow, I mean, I have no business winning that bet. But anyway, the Browns ran the football right down the Steelers' throats. Steelers don't look too swift this year. No offense. And they have to make a decision whether they're going to keep Mitch Trubisky in there. I didn't think Trubisky was horrible in this game, though. I don't know that it was all his fault.
No, but he hasn't been good. Like, you draft a quarterback in the first round. If the guy that you're playing instead of that quarterback isn't good, why not? I don't get not going to the young guy when the other guy
just thought, Pickett needs a little bit more seasoning. Trubisky, I don't know that you could blame this one on Trubisky. I don't think he was certainly not singularly at fault. It was the fact that the Steelers' defense couldn't stop the Browns' running game. Chubb was brilliant in the game, had over 100 yards. Very dry interview after the game. It seemed like he didn't really want to talk to anybody after the ball game. Wow, did he go cliche? Short cliches after the game. Well, we just have to move on to next week. Yep, they played well.
Your favorite.
He really said nothing. And yeah, they look pretty good, though. I mean, it's funny too, because you still have a sick feeling if you're a Browns fan after losing that Jets game that you could have been 3-0. At this point in the season, which would have been pretty remarkable, considering that the Browns were dealing with all kinds of adversarial and adverse conditions because of the Deshaun Watson deal. But Jacoby Brissett in there. You talk about a guy that perfectly fits the whole game manager mold. That's Jacoby Brissett. Competes, though. Gets out there. I mean, you know what? He hasn't done badly for himself. For a guy that you would consider to be a schmanky type of quarterback, gives a pretty good account of himself. He wasn't half bad in this ball game either. So that was a Thursday nighter to start the week. Everybody's zeroing in on the Bills and the Dolphins. We'll talk about that as well during the course of the program. The Greek coming up with his selections. How did the Greek fare last week? Do we have any records that we can give out? We'd like to go with accountability, Mr. Trump.
I have all the records.
Oh, you do? Okay.
I have everything. The Greek last week was 1-1-1.
All right.
Got his college play right. He had Baltimore over the Dolphins, so got that wrong. And then it got up to he got 3 with the Panthers, so he pushed Panthers and Giants.
Okay. All right. So, we didn't bury you. We come here not to praise you, but to bury you. That's usually the MO of these kind of shows that have handicappers on. But we did not bury you last week. And yet, I really feel like our guys haven't quite hit their stride yet.
But look,
I know Mark Lawrence has had brilliant theories and is always giving out underdogs. And he was like 1-2-1 last week on 4 plays, 2 college, 2 pros.
2-2. So like no one
Professor, yeah,
made you money. The professor was 2-2. No one made you money, but they didn't bury you, and that's my
there
thing.
you go.
Struggling now, but you're still not losing. Eventually, they're going to get hot, and a lot of times they get hot in tandem, so it works out for everybody.
Let's hope so. Let's hope this is the start of something big this week. All right, we're coming back with the Greek. Also, the Professor's Big Board, big part of our Degenerate Friday show. Mark Lawrence from PlaybookSports.com. And Mike Mayo, the Gambling Gourmet, who, wow, he dug into all 5 of those meals yesterday at Grandpa's, which I have to say is outstanding. If you're one of those pilgrims that is searching for a great knish here in South Florida, Grandpa's in Dania, I mean, that was outstanding. The filling in that potato knish was really, really good. And I like the way the whole presentation was outstanding. The breakfast there looked like they were off the chart. I'm not a lox guy, but you guys were chowing down on that lox that really did look like it was shaved by Paul Sorvino in Goodfellas. I mean, it was just really nicely done.
Nice. Yeah,
Those thin slices there. And, it was a good time. Mark and Mark, 2 guys named Mark own the place. They're not brothers, but the Marx brothers, I guess. But they really do a great job there. And it was packed for lunchtime. And then on top of that, more fans showing up. A lot of female fans like to follow Mike Mayo. I mean, maybe he doesn't realize what kind of machismo he actually what would it be? I mean, he must be giving off some kind of manly vibe because he emits machismo. That's what I want to say.
That's what I feel. Or at least it's not for me, I guess. The women are all on Twitter.
Women, no. I mean, they're never interested in me. Surprisingly, not in you. And it's all Mayo. He's like a chick magnet, this guy.
He is.
Unbelievable. Yeah. I mean, at that party the other night with Dickstein, chicks are all over him, young, old, didn't matter. And then, I wouldn't want to consider these people to be groupies because they're fans, but it did have a little bit of a groupie feel, didn't it? The way women are attaching themselves to Mike Mayo whenever he's out on the road.
What do you mean? She was like, I was driving around and it popped up on the video. And we're like, okay. And they're like, I had to come. I was like, you had to? I was like,
that was COME.
Yes, I had to come over there to Grandpa's once I saw Mike Mayo was there. And I was like, what?
Mayo, man. Is it the blue shirt? Well, what is it? I
was like, you sound like people with Calder back in the day. I'm like, your car just magnetically drove you to Mayo? I was like, what does that mean?
Pretty incredible. All right, we're coming right back with the Greek. Hialeah Park, beautiful place to go. I mean, talk about dynamite weekends to be at Hialeah Park. Open till 5 a.m. tonight and tomorrow. Open the doors at 9, so that's right around the corner. You can be in there and just bang away all day on your favorite Vegas-style games. People are winning huge jackpots. Another 60 dimes taken down just this past week. 58,000 and change on one of the Royal Reel machines, which are very, very popular there. Poker room is fantastic. I mean, just really professionally run. It's been that way since the start. I remember going in there when they first opened up, and always was very, very impressive. And then, of course, the Champion Simulcasting room is our personal favorite. We love the food and drink there. The rewards program is spectacular. I mean, you get all kinds of freebies and amenities for having a player's card. So get one when you first come in the door. And if you've had an established player's card somewhere else, like the Mustang does, where it's like double gold seal platinum, super duper player's card, you come in and exchange that, you have the same status at Hialeah Park, which gets you really, really a lot of unique opportunities there to not only get free play, but a lot of other entitlements. It's fantastic. They really do a great job. 9 years in operation right now, the Hialeah Park Casino. It's been just a great entertainment destination for many, many people from all over, not just Dade County, but Broward, Palm Beach, all over the country. A fantastic place. And clear your social calendar for the weekend if you can. Make sure you provide yourself a little bit of time to have some great fun and take part in the gaming experience of a lifetime at beautiful Hialeah Park. All right, Greek coming up in just a minute. Then the Professor, the big board is included there in his college plays. Mark Lawrence, PlaybookSports.com with his underdog picks for the weekend. And Mike Mayo finishes off the program as the Gambling Gourmet. And we're back with all of that in a moment. Now that. The time. 7:25. Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. You know, since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapist, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, there is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar, and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home. To be or not to be, that is the question.
Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park.
To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing end them, to die, to sleep, no more, and by asleep to say we end the heartache and 1,000 natural shocks.
What could that have been about, except
Gambling.
to hedge or not to hedge?
The modern day odd couple, Defo and Lubie, are on now. It is, of course, the Defo Show.
No doubt this gentleman, if he was giving advice, would have encouraged Lubie to become a Shakespearean actor. Just the voice alone, I guess, would have been perfectly made to cast him in any part, King Lear, Othello, any of those roles. You could easily see Lubie, doing a great job, a bang-up job on that. So we welcome to the show, one of our favorites here, a wild man of gigantic proportions. The Greek joins us here on the program, on the Defo Show. Greek, how are you, my friend?
I'm really good, guys. How are you on this lovely Friday? Big Friday for the Dolphins this weekend, huh, man? A lot of juice about this game. Woo.
Good morning, great one.
I looked at 2 handicappers so far in my New York Post, and both of them are on the Dolphins taking the points here. So what do you think, Greek? I think the one angle, and we're going to have to check with Mark Lawrence. I don't know if he has a number on this. I don't know if you do, because it's one of those things that seems to be a standard theory, and yet I'm not sure how accurate it is or how often it comes out that way. But a team going on the road following a Monday night game, I would imagine, is always in a prohibitive spot to cover the point spread the subsequent week. And that's a spot as good as the Bills have been. They find themselves in this week. Do you subscribe to that theory at all?
I think that's a good theory. I think for Buffalo, the whole world's on them. And, Dolphins are home. It's going to be hot. They're getting 5-6 points. Division game. I mean, if Buffalo comes down here and slams them, the whole world's on Buffalo. They were in the summer in Vegas and Jersey betting them. Everybody says Josh Allen's going to be the MVP. Tua's not that good. Even last week, he has a great game, and people say, he had wide open guys and this and that. So, a division game, I would take the 6 points with the Dolphins. I'm not saying they're going to win. I take the points. Not one of my plays, but I would take the point.
We'll make it an asterisk.
It does seem appealing. I mean, the reasons for taking the points, I think, slightly outweigh the fact that if you watch Buffalo's 2 games so far against what were supposed to be formidable teams, I think the Rams will definitely be a factor throughout the season. I'm not exactly sure where Tennessee is right now. I mean, Lubie's been waiting for the collapse of Ryan
Tennessee
Tannehill.
last year, I mean,
Yeah.
The 1 seed. They were the 1 seed. Yes.
Tennessee went to the AFC. Yeah, they went to the AFC Championship. They blew out 2 teams that are good, are supposed to be good in the NFL. You know, I mean, if the Dolphins, I mean, the crowd is so jacked up. The fans are jacked up for this game. A lot of anticipation. If the Dolphins lose, it'll be like going to a restaurant with a date, and they come back and they say, your credit card's no good.
Yeah.
Drop everybody.
Yeah. No, that's always embarrassing when they come back and you say, oh, I didn't get my card back, and it's shredded. And they're demanding a cash payment. You know, that doesn't make you look too good as you drove up there in that fancy schmancy automobile that you have there, Greek. How have you been doing? You know, I mean, your selections last week on the show were okay, and we haven't really gotten rolling yet. You were on just an incredible tear. 1-1-1 last week, but are you seeing any tendencies, trends, or anything that you can firmly believe in with any team and or theory out there that you're going to brace so far?
Well, I think last week in the NFL was a crazy Sunday. Survivor pools. I mean, I know so many people in them, and so many people are out of them. I know one Survivor pool, it's like 78% of the people are done already. And all those comebacks last week were crazy. The one thing I will say, you're seeing a little bit of a trend the last couple years. September is a lot like preseason.
Yeah.
Since they made 3 games, they change all the rules. They don't let them practice as much. They don't hit as much. And that's the one thing I'm noticing, that the teams are not sharp at all. And they look very, very rusty. And I think that's because there's only 3 games and nobody plays because nobody wants to get anybody hurt. Yep. So I definitely think the first month is almost like you got to sit back and, you know, put your serious bets in October and try to pick your spots. And certain teams, like, again, another trend that happened already, it's 4-0, is a team that goes to the Super Bowl or wins the Super Bowl, you bet against. The Rams are 0-2 against the spread, and so are the Bengals. You know, I've been saying that all summer again, and it seems like it happens every year.
That's crazy.
Yeah, we talked about that before the season. In fact, we bring it up every season, and it's one of those bets that you have to make before, you know, I mean, you have to do it from week number 1 if you're going to follow that and take it all the way through. Yeah. But that was always a common theme that I remember being, you know, hammered into my head. Bet against the defending Super Bowl champion in every game against the point spread the following year, because there's going to be a natural tendency to accord them more favorable point spreads. Because, you know, oh, yeah, well, they won the Super Bowl last year. I think the Rams are probably going to straighten themselves out. I mean, that they spit the bit a little bit against Atlanta last week, failing to cover the point spread, but they were in complete command of that game throughout until Atlanta scored a lot of points late in the game, and it still came up well short, but not short enough for the people that backed the Rams.
The trend I know is September to do it. That's the one I've always been, you know,
it regulates?
Subscribed to September, the first month.
Because after that,
and then October, November, step off of it. But in September, always the team that goes to the Super Bowl and the team that loses the Super Bowl, bet against them against the point spread because they're inflated. So,
and you're also hoping this lousy trend of play holds up for Cincinnati, since the Dolphins, I think, are in there with a real, I mean, chance, a free swing this week against the Buffalo Bills. They're in there with a shot to win the game. It's not, you know, it wouldn't be such an outrage if they came up with a victory here against the Buffalo Bills, who might come in and be a little bit flat off that Monday nighter and the 2 great performances. And Cincinnati is on the Dolphins' schedule next week.
Yep.
And they've been perplexingly bad so far this year.
Yeah, I think if Miami ever beats Buffalo, then Thursday night they're playing the Bengals. That'd be a game that you watch Cincinnati, because I think Miami could have a letdown there. But we'll see. I mean, let's take one day at a time.
All right, what are you looking at besides women? What are you looking at this week? Agreed. What do you have going?
Yeah, you ain't get it. All right, in college football, North Carolina's playing Notre Dame. Bet North Carolina. Notre Dame's got more problems than you know. They just got a lot of problems. They really do. That quarterback that they shouldn't even have won last week. That was a big play last week, giving California 14. So I like North Carolina in that game. In the NFL, the over in Detroit, Minnesota 52. Detroit, the first two games have gone sky over, and Minnesota's going to be throwing the ball around after they got a little smacked by the Packers. And then Monday night, the Giants playing Dallas. I'm going with the Giants. Jerry Jones already saying this kid's a good quarterback. It could be a controversy with him and Dak Prescott. It's Jerry being Jerry.
Oh, God.
But I like the Giants, the over, and the Minnesota-Detroit game, and North Carolina Saturday.
Nothing like infusing confidence into your starting quarterback, who you're paying a ton of money to. You've had nothing but high praise for, than by saying, hey, there's a bum who hasn't proven anything yet, who people didn't even know was on the roster, is likely to replace you, even though we're rushing you back after you had like
Exactly.
a heart transplant. You're coming back 2 weeks later. And leave it to Jerry Jones to fan the flames of controversy and put it on Dak Prescott that the job may not be his.
That guy's great.
That's Jerry. I mean, that's what he does. I mean, he's like the Don King in football. He can be good, but he can be bad.
100%.
He likes to sign drama even when they're not.
100%.
What'd you think of that whole situation with the Boston Celtics coach? That
We
was a
haven't
big
even talked
surprise,
about it
wasn't
yet. We haven't even talked about it yet.
What? I mean, I've read the stories. I just read a lengthy story about it. And they don't name the woman. Now, is the coach Udoka? Is he married? I mean, what's the
Yes.
deal there? Why was
Married
this
back
so
long.
outrageous? This improper relationship that he had.
He's not married.
Okay, so
He's
they're
got a
not
long-time
officially married.
girlfriend.
They're
He
not
has a
officially
child
married.
with her.
Okay,
Lubie,
that
do your
doesn't.
homework.
But
he's
that doesn't
officially
preclude
married.
him from, I mean, the fact that he had, some kind of consensual sexual affair with a woman who's on the Celtics staff. I mean, is that like a team rule? You can't, nothing in
Yes.
house?
The organization
Yeah,
after
Like, don't bang the cheerleaders? Is that the
Yes.
deal? And what is that?
Cheerleaders.
What does that come under, Greek?
a lot of remember Isaiah Thomas went through his stuff and the Knicks sort of
Yeah.
went down with him. So a lot of I was talking about this with the professor. A lot of
But
organizations.
his stuff involved, like, what could have been sexual assault, right?
But after that, just to clarify things so that they would not be involved, organizations said you can't, like, look, if it was the GM, maybe he would get away with it because it was a superior. But they put in place, and the Celtics definitely have this, and that's their problem with this, is you cannot date, subordinates or whatever.
Anybody
right?
on the staff.
Clear,
Okay.
and it's well known.
Yeah, to me, there's more to the story. I mean, I could see suspending him, 25, 30 games. The whole season,
Yeah, the season's a lot.
there's a little bit more to it. At the workplace, it's very common. It happens every day.
Oh, yeah.
It will always happen at the workplace.
Yeah.
To me, is it a policy? The guy took the team to the NBA Finals. I just think there's a little bit more that we don't know. That's all. That's a big suspension. And he might not even come back.
No, that's what they're saying. They're saying it's not
And it
really a
hasn't
year.
said. What do you mean?
Well, no, he's suspended a year, but they're saying if you go to a year, does he really come back after that year? Like, how does that look after a year? He's just magically
he might
there.
not.
Now he's okay? He
I
can go
want-
back
there's-
banging his secretary?
Exactly.
What's the deal with that?
a lot of teams would probably want him as a coach, but we'll see. I mean, but it's a surprising thing that the Celtics did him themselves. I mean, the guy is a good coach. The players love him, and a couple days before media day, suspend them for the whole year. That's going to hurt the Celtics.
That's bad.
Who
I'm
cares?
just wondering. I mean, you look at all the different things that have happened. You had Bobby Kraft, the owner of the Patriots, in a sex scandal with trafficking and all kinds of stuff at that Asian spa. No suspension, nothing. What was he banging Brad Stevens' wife? I mean, what do you think, Greek? This has to go deeper. This is your ballpark here.
I think somebody said there was rumors that he had John Havlicek's jersey on. I don't know. There's a lot of crazy things. Who knows what it was?
Oh,
He
my
could have been having an affair with deceased Havlicek, and it would not necessarily have led to a year's suspension. But that's kind of an interesting story, and I'm not sure I really maybe Lubie's right. NBA made really strict rules about this, but I don't know. I guess the guy to go to on that would be Dan Snyder. See what he had to say about
Yeah.
this whole thing.
Oh,
I don't even think there wouldn't have even been an email of reprimand if it was Snyder's organization.
Yeah, well, he would have got a raise. With Snyder. You feel me?
High five. Yeah.
All right, what do you got going on, Greek? You're on the radio all day, right? All night as well. I mean, you're still in the business. It's fantastic. Lubie and I just celebrated the 1-year anniversary of our liberation from iHeartMedia. which was not by our own choice. We were perfectly fine there. Everything was going too well. What was the problem? How are they doing, by the way, over there at 940 Wins?
I don't know. They're doing good, I guess. Everybody's good. Like I said, I just go in. If my keypad works, I walk through the door. Pretty simple.
That's the way I took it for years. Yeah, exactly. As long as my ID card worked. And then one day we showed up and it didn't work anymore. It was great.
And there it is.
All righty.
I just drove down here, man. Who wanted to be in Miramar? Oh my God! All right, Greek, we love you, man. Have a great weekend. Keep your chin up there and keep punching, my friend.
You as well, sir.
All right, love you guys.
Love you back, sir.
The Greek, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so he likes North Carolina over Notre Dame. Notre Dame has become, just one of those teams that is being bullied. I mean, pretty much by the bettors. What do you think? I mean, is it possible? A lot of these tendencies tend to correct themselves. I mean, at times where you push in with the most confidence.
I mean, Carolina's not good either, so that's my only issue with that game is both teams are. It's like Wake Forest, Clemson, where Clemson struggled. Well, Wake Forest almost lost to Liberty, and I get it. Liberty's coached by Hugh Freeze. Liberty has flirted with the top 25. That's fine. You shouldn't lose to Liberty, and they should have lost that game. Liberty outplayed them,
and they lost to Appalachian State.
And in Clemson, I'm talking about Clemson and Wake Forest. And
Clemson, they barely beat Appalachian State.
And Clemson struggles. Yeah. They struggled all year long. So that's 2 top 25 games, but I don't know what to do with that game. Carolina and Notre Dame is the opposite, where like both have struggled to the point where they're not ranked, and they've lost these games, or almost lost these games. Carolina to App State, Notre Dame to Marshall at home, where it's like, I guess Carolina.
North Carolina favored by 1.5 over Notre Dame at home. Notre Dame has been unimpressive. I mean, look, a lot of people. I ended up on the right side of that game, getting the points in the game last week with the Fighting Irish. They did not cover. They gave a decent account of themselves in the opening week when they were taking on Ohio State.
But Ohio
State in that game,
showing themselves to not be the juggernaut that we thought they were. So that's probably more of what that was. Like North Carolina, at least, and I guess this is probably what people are thinking. Drake May is really good. Their quarterback is legit. Notre Dame, we don't know. Their quarterback sucks. Like the guy last week was really not supposed to be the guy, but then the other guy was hurt, so now he's the guy, and he sucks. Like their defense has played well, but their quarterback situation is really bad. So you're thinking Carolina will be able to get some points, and you don't know what the hell Notre Dame's going to do on offense.
Unimpressive offensively, I would have to say. Notre Dame so far. Marcus Freeman era getting off to a very sluggish start when it came to the O. Not exactly reminding you of the days when they had Joe Montana throwing a rock. Maybe John Hewitt. Remember John Hewitt? He was like the backup quarterback for a while for the New York Titans, was he not? John Hewitt, Heisman Trophy winner. All right. Notre Dame so far has been just a whipping boy of sorts for the bettors, and they are getting 1.5 against North Carolina. So the Greek likes North Carolina in that game. And then he went over in Detroit. Detroit scoring, they're the top scoring team in the NFL.
Yes.
Not sure exactly what that represents, but the over in that ball game, over under, what do you say? It was like 50-something? Sounds reasonable because Detroit's averaging over 35 a game or something like that. And he likes the G-men, who I don't know that I really believe that the Giants were going to be that good. I mean, they're 2-0. Looks a little fugazi, doesn't it, the Giants?
Well, I mean, Cooper Rush isn't good. I don't care what he did last game to game manage a victory. Like, the dude's not good.
No.
So whatever Daniel Jones is, you're hoping he's better than Cooper Rush. I mean, you'll get a lot of answers about Daniel Jones in this game. Like, if he's not better than Cooper Rush, and it's not like the Cowboys defense isn't good. Like, Diggs is their elite corner, and he got beat at the end of the game. And Parsons is really all they have on defense. So their defense isn't good, and their offense is under Cooper Rush. I mean, the Giants should be able to win this game.
More popular with their constituents. Brian Daboll, 2-0 with the Giants, or Mike McDaniel, 2-0 with the Dolphins. Well, we don't care as much about sports here in South Florida as they do in New York. So Daboll must be the fair-haired boy in that situation.
Well, the Giants were always good. The Giants are very much like the Dolphins, but where the Dolphins have been good for 20 years, the Giants find a way to continue to be good that entire time. So this last, 5 years where they've struggled is like a rarity. So them being good again or looking like it, I guess, they would heap a ton of praise on him. But McDaniel's getting a lot of love down here because he's different and he's fun. And, South Florida loves entertainment. Like, he's getting a lot more love than a lot of our coaches usually get. Like, people like this guy. Like, they really do.
I would love to see him beat the Buffalo Bills. I'm not sure I believe they will,
God.
but I would love to see that happen. All right, the professor coming up next. The professor has a big board. That's always a highlight on the show on a Degenerate Friday. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubie Lubitz with you, South Florida Live. Mike Mayo later on, a Gambling Gourmet, and he'll join us for the Friday edition of the Lunchbox. A spectacular yesterday. As Mayo puts on a hell of a show, man. The way that he can shovel food into his face, and the fact that he could get his mouth around that corned beef on rye, that really was quite an accomplishment.
Yeah, Andy's not wrong.
You don't expect that of a food critic. You would expect a food critic to take a little fork and knife and cut a little piece, maybe dip it in some mustard. Not Mayo, man.
Oh, no.
Chestnut City with him. It's fantastic.
So there was some of the sandwich left after you guys left. I'm not a big eat a sandwich that's atase. Like, I don't actually like that much meat on a sandwich.
Yeah.
But there was some left, and I cut off like around the end, which is still was big for me. And I
Very
struggled.
good, yeah.
He bit the middle. Like, he bit the middle. That was like this. Like,
it was gigantic.
like,
It's unbelievable. You needed a jack, like you were going to change your tire to keep your mouth open, just to get one bite down, and he managed. And then he comes right back with like a follow-up before he even finishes swallowing the first bite.
Yeah, what do you mean? He was like,
It's incredible, man. It's like you just like when they used to feed Papillon in solitary. Unbelievable. We're coming back with more. The professor joins us next. Mark Lawrence from PlaybookSports.com, also on the ticket today, as we'll take you up until 9 o'clock with the Defo Show, and back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
7:46.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched. Steaks hand cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
You know what I'm gonna do? Because you don't ever give me a fair shake. You know that? So I'm gonna go and let you talk to Victor Ortiz, all right? I'm through. They put somebody else up and give me an interview.
What are you talking about? What are you talking
heard him.
about?
You never give me a fair shake. HBO needs to fire you. You don't know about boxing. You ain't you got
I wish I was 50 years younger and I'd kick your ass.
The modern day odd couple, Defo and Lubie, are on now. It is, of course, the Defo Show.
All right, we're experiencing some technical difficulties with the professor and his internet connection here, so we're going to try and resolve that. In the meantime, welcome back to the show. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubie Lubitz, a Degenerate Friday here on South Florida Live, and interesting commentary and insightful stuff coming in over the chat line, so I wanted to reference some of that. Anthony says the Royal Reels are the best payout, no doubt. Talking about Hialeah Park, I always see jackpots won on the Royal Reel machines. I don't understand all that stuff on slot machines, where you have like a bag of popcorn comes down and then some cards and knights and animals and all kinds of crazy stuff goes on. I mean, it really is sort of fascinating the way this stuff has emerged from the old days where you just used to hope to get like 3 plums across the line and get like 5 nickels back. The slot machine advancement is incredible, but he does agree that the Royal Reels would be the way to go if you're gambling at Hialeah Park. Also in dispute, let's see, we have Alfred chiming in.
No dispute. I don't know what the hell place he's talking about. The Greek had Rutgers over Temple, and Rutgers beat Temple.
Okay, did they cover the point spread? He had the Greek at 0-3, 0-3 last week.
They were getting 18 points and won outright. So
okay,
that's how that works.
Rutgers was getting 18 points against Temple?
Yes.
No way.
Yes,
Yeah,
I'm looking at
that's
it
the way
right
that
here.
went.
Yes.
You're not
Oh, maybe
exactly,
Lang.
always on the money when it comes to
Oh
following these
no,
sort of
Rutgers
things,
was
Libby.
Lang, and I'm wrong. He
There you
wasn't.
go.
Sorry,
So he
Alfred.
wasn't 1-1-1. All right.
He
So
was
at best, he was 0-2-1.
and Caroline was getting 3 at the time. So I don't know
Okay.
what line you got, but that's what line I had, and that's what I go with is what I had. So you're right. He
All
was
right. Well, good job there by
0-1.
Alfred
He was 0-2 and
calling
1.
us out on that.
0-2
Yeah.
and 1. 0-2 and 1. Sorry.
All right. Mike Mayo says he went 1-2 on his selections last Friday. And
I didn't even look at it.
Notre Dame is the team that he's, like everybody else, is using him as a veritable ATM machine so far this year and going against him in every game. And Robert says Hewitt was signed the same year as Joe Namath with the New York Jets and never was a New York Titan. He did not back up Mike Tolliver, whose name was spelt, and it looked like it should be pronounced Taliaferro, but it was Tolliver. And one of my favorite all-time quarterbacks there, the New York Titans. And you know who my favorite player was on the Titans? Lubie?
Oh.
It should be an easy one for you, Mr. Gorilla Monsoon. Chief Wahoo McDaniel.
Oh, Wahoo McDaniel's on that team. I didn't know.
One of the great two-sport athletes of all time. Dynamite. I mean, he was a very competent professional football player. Maybe not like Hall of Fame stature. The Chief Wahoo McDaniel legend lives on there with the New York Titans. And then, of course, a top-notch professional wrestler, Lubie. This was no slouch. This wasn't some clown just going in there for an exhibition. Chief Wahoo McDaniel was a force to be reckoned with back in the old days of the original, the senior Vince McMahon. There's an organization where it's okay to fool around with the people. Udoka should just go work for the WWF, no? WWE?
Yeah, I guess.
Wouldn't have been a problem, right? How you were only making it out, with one secretary? What are you talking about? Got to be kidding me, man. There was like an orgy taking place there at the WWE offices, even though McMahon's wife was a very prominent figure there in leadership. All right. And the Greek's right. A lot of steam about the Dolphins. I was reading two handicappers, and they both selected the Dolphins with the points in this game. That line is back down to 5 and a hook.
Yeah, because people are coming and going. Look, the reality is, as good as the Bills have looked, and they've looked great against at least one team that's supposed to be really good, another team that was really good, and people that aren't sure.
They toyed with both of those teams so far.
They did, and I think that's where they are right now. However, they're going on the road to an entirely different climate. Up there, it must be already in the 60s or 70s. It hasn't changed at all down here. It's still hot as hell, and now rainy, so it's humid as hell. It's going to be in the middle of the day, and it's not a Dolphins team that is slow, run like Flores. Like, it's a team that likes to move. It's a team that uses speed, so it would take advantage of that heat, you would think. So I don't know. I see the Bills winning, but if you're getting points at home and that you are 2-0 and you did just come back for a playoff caliber team, I guess that's why a lot of people are going that way. I would lean Buffalo. Until I see someone get to them, I'm not picking the Dolphins to do it. I like McDaniel. I think McDaniel's doing a heck of a job. I think a lot of the Peyton rumors are going to go away very soon because of how he has coached. But is he ready to take on that team? I don't know.
Well, the Ravens were making the Dolphins look foolish throughout the majority of that game.
2.5 quarters.
And then they caught this spark and got piping hot against what appeared to be a very, very tiring Ravens defense. I'm not sure where the Bills defense would rank in comparison to Baltimore. You always think of Baltimore as if it was the year 2000. I don't know that it is. They have a statue of Ray Lewis outside the stadium, but they don't have Ray Lewis playing a game.
The Ravens defense is actually like a top 5 caliber defense. The Bills is the best. The Bills defense is actually the best defense of football.
All right, here we go. Dolphins, this is the analysis of the Wildcat, who, let's take a look at his record. Do they give this? Last week, he was 0-2. He gave you the Saints and the Steelers 2 losers. He's 1-3 on the season. All right, but it's early yet. I don't know that you can jump to any enormous conclusions here or definitive conclusions. Buffalo's ascent has been well advertised. This is what he says, which pretty much leaves us looking at Miami or nothing in this matchup, factoring in the surface value. Taking the apparent edge here while holding our breath for 3 hours. Figures close. Dolphins battle to the wire before their frantic home fans for 1 unit. So it's a very tempered endorsement of the Miami Dolphins in that game by the Wildcat. And then this guy, Dave Blizo, who's usually, or is it Blazo? Usually pretty good in the New York Post. He handicaps all the games in the Friday edition, and then they have a guy named Richard Witt who handicaps all of the games and gives you a little capsulization, which I kind of like to read because you get some indicators there sometimes. And his logic is this: Dolphins +5 on a hook over the Bills. This is mainly a situational fade of the otherwise awesome Bills. Situational fade. Those are terms that you're going to.
Well, it's what we said. I mean, he's trying to put in a handicapping vernacular, but it's what you said. You said traveling after Monday night down to a totally different area.
This would be the time, against a team that looks like it has some ability.
They have some momentum. They have some ability. They have some excitement.
It wouldn't matter if it was the Dolphins or the Washington Commanders. I mean, in this spot, there's a vulnerability, you would have to say, for the Buffalo Bills. I mean, at least if you follow common trends, I'm sure Mark Lawrence, like I said, I'm curious to see if he has a stat on the number of times that a Monday night team going on the road the following week has covered a point spread. He says, Bledsoe, about the Buffalo Bills. Their first two games have been primetime blowout wins, and now they travel on a short week and have to slug it out with the also 2-0 Dolphins in the forecast, which the real feel will be 97 degrees.
Maybe more than that.
Maybe Tyreek Hill will give them Chiefs flashbacks where they just can't. I mean, Burgess Meredith is ringing in my head there as Mick in the Rocky movies. You need speed. Now, the greatest proponent of that, or the guy that really made the most use out of that aspect, was Jimmy Johnson, right? When his whole theory of downsizing, and he would take defensive backs and make them linebackers, and he would take linebackers and make them D linemen. And the theory was he was going to have more speed at every position. Maybe he was giving up whatever he was lacking in power. He was going to make up for in speed, and it was a formula that worked marvelously for him throughout his coaching career. The whole downsizing of players to play certain positions. So you didn't have to be like a 320-pound defensive lineman. You could get in there like Jason Taylor at 260 and do a hell of a lot of damage. I mean, just wreak havoc with the opposition because of the speed and versatility that they display. So that's an element that the Dolphins have in full display in their arsenal on the offensive side. And I think they finally got to the point where they really were able to take advantage of it after kind of winning that game on defense in the season opener against the Patriots in, what wasn't the most inspiring victory that we've seen in the history of Miami Dolphin football, but a necessary one. So I don't know. I mean, I would love to think this. This is what I'd love to think, Lubie, that the Dolphins found something there, obviously in the fourth quarter, that they might be able to perpetuate, especially in the early stages where they have been good. Even when they were horrible starting the season, they usually were pretty good on their opening drives. And some of the personnel is the same, even though the coaching staff is different. But hopefully they can capitalize on that. And as the cliches would mandate or dictate, if you put the Bills in a hole here and then they're, hit with the overwhelming, staggering heat and humidity in the second half, the place to be, obviously, is ahead early in this ballgame if you're the Miami Dolphins. And if they can get in there, they can cover the 6.
Start running. If you can start running, and that's what they did with the Ravens. The Ravens eventually were tired, and whatever you want to call it. The Ravens defense is good, and they were good all game until the third, because they got that one touchdown. That one touchdown, the third quarter sort of opened my eyes, like, okay, maybe they're waking up a little bit. And then the fourth, it was just a barrage. And that's what they've been talking about with this team between Mostert, Edmonds, Waddle, Cedric Wilson Jr., and Hill. They're so fast that eventually you're thinking it's going to wear down a team. The Bills have this team defense unit thing. Okay, are they as fast as this group? And with that he combined, I could see why you would take the Dolphins. I just wouldn't touch this game because, again, until I see someone do it to the Bills, I'm going to assume the Bills are going to keep rolling because they're just rolling right now.
All right. They have 9 handicappers on the panel here in the New York Post.
Okay.
Of those, we have Dolphins, so that's 2-0. Bills, that's 2-1. Okay. Dolphins, it's 4-1. Yeah. Then Bills.
So 4-4.
5-4. 5-4 in favor of the Bills. One guy has the Bills as his best bet of the week. 2 of them do. As one of their best bets of the week.
See, I think those people are stupid.
So, very, very, as you might anticipate, especially early in the season when it's tough to tell anything and to embrace anything with a high level of certainty in the National Football League, especially, maybe less so in college. We've seen a few things that might define teams in college. right? Like if you believe that Notre Dame really doesn't have it this year, this would be the week once again to just go ahead and stay on the bandwagon there and bet against them. And we've seen a few things. As you said, Clemson does not appear to be anywhere near the juggernaut that they've been in the past. And so they would be vulnerable in any competitive spot, you would have to think also. A couple of things that we've seen. And Georgia appears to be a professional team at this stage and may be capable of beating some teams in the NFL, which is always a theory that, you take the worst team in the NFL, could they beat Georgia?
I mean, usually no.
Of course, they would pound the living daylights out of them.
Yeah, exactly.
You would think in practicality, but it's fun to think about it in that light, is it not? And they appear to be light years ahead of Alabama and the rest of the pack. The Georgia Bulldogs so far.
Professor Waden, his internet is actually down, so that's why we don't have him.
Okay.
He's awake, he's trying, but his internet's not working, which happens. But we didn't want to go a week without the professor's plays, so this is what he has for you, his adoring public.
Okay.
Wake Forest and he doesn't usually do over-unders, so I guess he really sees this as a high-scoring affair. Wake Forest and Clemson over 55. Wake Forest and Clemson over 55. Or over 55 and a hook, whatever number you get. You know me, I try and lean a little bit.
You're trying to eliminate the hooks, and you also trying to shave the point spread in your favor.
Our guys
giving it out.
Yes, I try. Arkansas getting 2 over A&M, and that's just what it is. That is what I'm saying. Arkansas getting 2 over Texas A&M, and USC, the juggernaut in the waiting, laying 5 over Oregon State. A lot of people think this could be a tough one. Oregon State's a tough place to play. USC struggled with them historically. He, like me, thinks the USC is just starting to roll, and I think they're turning to be scary.
I'm feeling a little USC. I will have a soft spot in my heart for USC. I really enjoyed covering USC football back in the day in the early and mid 70s. I guess it was mid 70s to early 80s. And it was just a lot of fun going out there. I mean, they were essentially the most popular team in Los Angeles, even more popular than the Rams at that time. Most popular football team, anyway. The Dodgers always were the number one team in everybody's hearts. The Lakers really hadn't established themselves yet as an entity. In fact, the Lakers and the LA Kings had attendance figures that would be more indicative of South Florida teams. Maybe worse. I mean, I remember the Lakers were being led by Cornell Warner, was like their best player. And this was before, I mean, they also, had eventually done the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar trade, which, took them into another stratosphere. I mean, that certainly helped a lot. And this was before they became the Showtime Lakers. But I remember going to Laker games. The place would be, the LA Forum was like half full.
That's crazy.
Can you imagine? In any NBA arena right now, I mean, it seems like they're all sellouts, even with the crappy teams. All right, so we have the professor selections. We do not have the professor. That is very unfortunate because we always enjoy having the big board on the show. Wake Forest, do you have any idea what his big board pertained to, or does he just want to save it for next week since he already did?
Maybe we'll have him. I'll ask him, and we'll see. Maybe he'll save it for next week.
Okay, all right. I mean, with the professor's big board, I mean, if we can straighten the situation out, it might even be worth including him in the Monday show to give the big board, although I'm not sure if it becomes a time factor or, has any time sensitivity. It doesn't seem like it does. Usually something that pertains is something that's in the contemporary news at the time, but isn't necessarily something that, by Monday would be outdated. So maybe we can work that out for you and get a double dose of the professor next week. But Wake Forest, Clemson, over 55 and a hook, according to Lubie.
Yeah.
Arkansas getting 2 from Texas A&M. Yes. And USC, he's a big USC fan. If he likes that USC team, he will back them with his money.
Yes.
And -5 there, laying 5 against Oregon State on the road. He thinks that they cover that. All right, Mark Lawrence going to join us in the next hour of the program, and the Gambling Gourmet, Mike Mayo, as well. Stick with us here. It's a Degenerate Friday on a Defo show. If you're looking for something to do over the weekend, wow. In addition, how about this? If you're like a Broward County or Palm Beach County resident, or you're coming from parts north of, say, Dade County, go down to Hialeah and spend a little time in a casino, and then, make the jaunt down to Key Largo. Stay overnight at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill or somewhere in Key Largo and spend the entire day, afternoon, just absolutely having a wonderful time at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. Fantastic place right there on the Gulf side on the bay. Beautiful views. You see the aerial shots here that we have on the little clip that we played of Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. But what you can't get from that, even though it looks spectacular, is the incredibly good vibe that you have all throughout the grounds there and anywhere that you go. Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. You want to kind of space out on your own and be alone? You can do that. You want to be in a crowd whooping and hollering over some college and pro football games? You can do that. And if you want to eat some good food, no matter what your type and desire of style of food is, they have it there for you at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. It really is a perfect place. Mayo should move there. He would be so happy, right? He could get like the kind of, ballpark food that he likes there with the nachos and the hot dogs and the burgers and all of that stuff. And then he can have that fine foo-foo dining that he favors, where there was just a wisp of cumin that made all the difference. And a rather succulent, flavorful presentation of my codfish.
It is funny because like they have the nachos is his thing, but then it's like pork nachos, so that's already a different twist. And then they bring out the pizza. Oh, they have pizzas, but then there's like crab and shrimp. Like
all kinds of great stuff, man. I mean, the way they do the seafood there is absolutely fantastic. It creates a lot of sort of, you're having many serious debates in your head as to which direction to go in because it's all so wonderful at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. So my suggestion would be to stay a while and, try a little bit of everything when it came to the menu there. The cocktails, of course, are always right on the money. And you have live music Saturday and Sunday. A great place to watch all of the games, college and pro football, and really in the spirit of the thing there at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. Remodel Sports Bar is a spectacular, and as we said, anything that your heart desires in terms of food and drink, it's available to you, and you are going to be overwhelmingly impressed with all of the great quality and the prices at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. That's mile marker 104, the Overseas Highway in Key Largo. All right, I'm Jeff DeForest. He's Mike Lubie. It's more of a Degenerate Friday in a moment. Mark Lawrence, PlaybookSports.com, coming up in just a few minutes. Mike Mayo, the Gambling Gourmet, as well. And we'll be back with more in a moment. Now that. 8:07. Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. Since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapist, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, there is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar, and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
You can't fake caring. Women can sense this immediately. You don't really care. You didn't really want to do any of this.
We now return to the Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show. A Degenerate Friday. Sorry for no professor this week. We did get his selections. And
appreciate Monday, so he's.
Oh yeah, okay, good. We want to get that big board in. That'll be fantastic.
Yeah.
Hate to have him go through all of the effort that it takes to put together a big board. Plus, I mean, the ingenious thought processes that he applies and that are just absolutely laced throughout the presentation, and then not give him a chance to go ahead and bring that off. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubie, Lubitz, Mark Lawrence going to join us shortly here on the program. Mark Lawrence, PlaybookSports.com, always dynamite, always giving out long shots here and underdogs on the show. So far this year, he hasn't quite caught his stride. I don't know what his record is, although that might become something else that lands in dispute here as the audience.
It's not good. And
keeps sharper track of this than you do, Lubie, which is pretty incredible. Now they're putting their own money up, whereas you're just enjoying a weekend there going, oh, good, thank God I don't have to do a show.
Oh, I track everything. I have extensive records of our picks. Lawrence has not been good, so we can just say
so far, yeah. But I mean,
fine.
Like I said, the theories are fantastic, and even if they don't all click in right away. It's the so-called feeling out process that you always hear about in the first round of a very boring boxing match where neither guy's doing anything. And so the play-by-play guy, out of obligation, and I used to cringe if I found myself doing this, referring to what looks like just a really rotten piece of non-active sports activity. And you're looking at it and go, well, you know what? They're in the feeling out process here, Joe. What do you think? I think feel this, man.
Exactly.
Get out of here. I mean, no, we don't need to go through this meandering. And that's what I'm hoping. I mean, speaking of a boxing reference, remember Aaron Pryor? And, of course, he had the classic fight down here with Alexis Arguello. But, his whole MO, his modus operandi was to, as the bell rang for the first round, he would run across the ring and fire a haymaker and usually land it and immediately start dictating the pace of the fight. Even if it slowed down into more of a tactical affair later on, which, was the case with that Arguello fight, his signature was he was coming out of the chute flying. He was going to be a front runner, a pace setter. He's going to be on the lead there, and the fractions were going to be, the kind that had the announcer saying, and they run the first quarter in 21-3. And you're like, oh, my God. Even the announcer's flipping out here saying there's no way that this pace can last. But that's what I think the Finns need to do. I think they need to hit the Bills with a haymaker early in this game and not go into some kind of conservative shell to start the ball game. I want to see them come out firing, just like they did in the fourth quarter there against the Ravens, as if they were already in desperation mode. Because I don't know that they can go, in some kind of tactical affair with the Buffalo Bills. They might be able to stay in the game that way, but I don't know that they can win it. And this would be a sensational spark, Lubie, for this area, would it not? South Florida? And the long-suffering Dolphin fans who have been mired in mediocrity forever, who had as their inspirational leader for 4 years, smoking Joe Philbin. I know we lost the game, but I'm sure I'm proud of the boys. Like he was talking about his son's T-ball team. Well, little Johnny might have struck out, even though there's no ball being pitched and it's sitting there on a tee. But you know what? He gave it his best efforts. He was great, smoking Joe Philbin in that regard. Real nice guy. But you know what's funny too, because he was on Hard Knocks. I guess he became like an offensive line coach. Where was he coaching? With the Colts, that they were on Hard Knocks. And he had like a gutter mouth that would rival anything that we heard from Mike Westhoff when Hard Knocks was focusing in on the New York Jets. I mean, not even every other word was an F-bomb. Every word, I mean, was some kind of, I didn't see Philbin ever doing that. Did you?
Oh, no.
What happened to him? A complete change of heart.
I guess the pressure was off of him. I don't know.
That as well. So
I mean, if the Dolphins win that game, it's going to be insane down here. I'm so neutered that I can't even imagine them winning. I would just be happy. Like, I've already accepted, wow, if they could have a moral victory, which is a weird thing to do, especially for a team that's 2-0. But the Bills have just looked so good that if somehow if they win that game, people will go insane down here because the Bills right now are such a juggernaut, and the Dolphins still have a lot of questions. They somehow win that, people are going to be freaking out down here. Like you will get the Dolphins fever like it's the 90s. If they somehow win that freaking game.
You have a chance to kind of balance out the good things that you've been doing so far this year. I played a very strong defensive game against a weak offense against the Patriots.
Yeah.
And that kind of led to the victory. It wasn't like the offense was overwhelmingly inspiring in that ball game. And you had all of the usual question marks and the Mysterians following around Tua Tagovailoa and whether or not he was the man. And again, Justin Herbert looked to be vastly superior. And this loomed as one of the great classic organizational mistakes in the history of organizations. Maybe larger than Putin's miscalculation about the strength and willpower of the Ukrainians.
Yeah.
Who are now embarrassing the guy to the point where he's saying, you know what, I might just nuke him. I'm going to nuke him. Okay, Vlad.
Like,
calm the fuck down.
Pick your ball up and go home. Like, when do
I mean, it's one thing to pick the women that comprise the band Pussy Riot off the podium there and take them to jail for a year. But this is, bordering on beyond sickness, is it not?
Yes.
Very good. Those Trump lawyers are looking pretty good, too, in court, aren't they? The special master who they handpicked is just looking at him like what kind of clowns are you? Which one of you is going to proclaim yourself bozo? I mean, it just the rulings are very specific and make you wonder. You now have Trump speaking in tongues on Fox News, and how about that one going unchallenged by the moderator? Imagine you're doing an interview, Lubie. I mean, it happens where, maybe you're not paying complete attention to what the guy's saying. You're thinking of your next question. You're not expecting something to come out of the air that is so outrageously unjustifiable as a statement that, you're going to have to go ahead and say, oh, really? Is that what you mean?
So what did he say? Because I just saw a lot of people making fun of Trump for being.
He said, that if the president just thinks that documents should be disqualified, the mind readers in the National Archives, people will immediately know that. Oh yeah, I was going to classify that thing as top secret, but I know it contains a lot of information about our nuclear weapons structure. But the president, I didn't realize he thought that it should have been declassified. So therefore, it is. I think. Therefore, I am. That should have been the caption underneath that Trump statement. But the guy who was doing the interview, Hannity, I'm not really that familiar with the right-wing press. Just the names.
Hannity,
he just sat there and said, yeah, you're right, Donnie. You think it. It's so.
And he's not a journalist. And he never was a journalist. And with Trump, it's even worse because he's become his bestie. So, like, Hannity just is, and he's literally his mouthpiece. Like, that's where Hannity gets his stuff. Like, the Trump administration would use Hannity to get out their talking points. Like, literally, it was hand in hand.
The other one, Andy points it out. I mean, this is as outrageous as anything the Trumpster has ever said, and that is, maybe, and his attempts to be like a Borscht Belt comedian usually are the times that he looks and sounds the most foolish. But I think he had to be joking when he said that the FBI, while they were planting evidence there, as if they were Mark Furman with a bloody glove. I think they even found a bloody glove in the driveway there at Mar-a-Lago. And they implicated Trump in the OJ case. And he's implying that they would stop at nothing short of that they might pin the OJ murders on Donald Trump there. But he then claimed that the FBI might have been looking for Hillary's deleted emails as they were searching and ransacking Melania's closet. Where did Melania go, by the way? Is she still with Donnie?
I guess.
Have you ever seen, outside of, who was it, Martha Mitchell? Have you ever seen a woman who was prominent in any kind of White House conversation? Have you ever seen anyone just completely disappear like this woman did? Melania, where is Melania? Is she doing charity work? What the hell is she doing?
Actually, she is. She just is asking for some money for some charitable thing. So she did pop up like a couple weeks ago for some charity thing. But other than that, she wasn't the most involved first lady. She might have been the least involved first lady of at least my life.
She can't, supposedly she can't stand Donald Trump's press.
Well, it's clear. You can see the pictures. It wasn't a joke when they would take the pictures and she would have that. We always talk about the face that people make. Like the face.
She had that look like she had a gun to her head. Yeah. She looked like Hank Aaron in that tribute to Barry Bonds there when he broke through and hit number 756. And they had Hank on. Well, I really want to congratulate you, Barry, on a brilliant career.
You see the barrel?
Yeah. And you see the barrel of a shotgun being held to Aaron's head as they pull back the cameras accidentally. And you go, oh, my God, who are those guys with the ski masks on? And then you see, the dateline is Tehran. Prop bets every night. Jim Sarney pointed out to me there was a prop bet last night. I didn't think it was going to happen for some reason. I don't know. These things tend to, whenever you think it's a cinch that like Judge is going to hit number 61, and now all of these games are televised. They have a big flap today about SNY that carries the Yankee games, most of them in New York on TV. The majority of them, these Friday games were sold to Apple Television, which apparently a very small minority of Yankee fans actually are able to have access to these games on Apple without, venturing out or maybe spending some money that they didn't, have in mind or weren't inclined to spend at the beginning of the season. And they're doing anything in their power to try and get Apple to concede to let them broadcast the game tonight against the Red Sox, which also Bogart's the Red Sox shortstop, right? Is now tied in a dead heat. Yeah, Bogart's in a dead heat with Aaron Judge for the batting average thing, which I think is as fascinating as the home run chase. The home run chase, I don't know. People are making illusions as if this was really going to be the record, and it's great to see, but
it's not.
It's hard to just ignore the fact that juice or no juice, these guys hit like 73, 74 home runs in a season.
Look, my thing is because of my stance on the Hall of Fame, and I think at some point you just have to let everyone in or don't let everyone in, then records have to be the same way. Like the picking and choosing is annoying. And I in my heart, I'll give Judge a lot more credit. We can do that. We can do credit and blame if we want. But in the record books, I agree with you. Like you can't start putting asterisks. Like where do you stop? There, every era was different. There was the mound, and then before integration, and like all the eras could have an asterisk. So like if you can't just pick this one era, because and in the 80s it was what the greenies, like there was always some kind of a drug helping players in some form. Like
there's always something, no doubt about it. Expansion, you have now you have all of these different role players. You don't have starters going as long. Teams, used to have 4 guys in a rotation. Now they have 5. I mean, there's so many different changes in Major League Baseball. And some of those ballparks were naturally cultivated to, certain particulars, as in the house that the Bambino built. I mean, so there were advantages there as well. All right, Mark Lyon's going to join us here from PlaybookSports.com and does a dynamite job for us. Tremendous theories. So far, the theories have gone a little bit awry and maybe popped up in smoke. Now he's only given out a couple of selections here on the show, so well worth it. Anybody that's heard Mark Lawrence and listened to his analytics, you would think that he'd be working for the Tampa Bay Rays, and it'd be doing sabermetrics or some of the analytics that you see being applied in sports today, which I think is largely to a fault. But his database is substantial, and he comes up with all kinds of numerology and qualifying indicators when it comes to making these wagers. So if you're looking to get into it, I'm thinking, the way that they're pumping this now with like Kevin Hart is acting like he's got money on every play.
Yes.
I'm worried that the world is going to go broke because people, and then I saw something that absolutely was comical where they were putting a disclaimer up. I guess the NFL was obligated during the game last night to put up some kind of disclaimer for all of the times they're trying to encourage you to bet your brains out on everything. And one of the things that hit me and struck me was their warning was only bet what you can afford to lose.
Oh, good.
There you go. In other words, don't bet any money that you don't have.
Will anyone gamble them?
I'm not sure that many gamblers really, put a lot of stock in that particular premise. But anyway, we have a guy that's extremely practical about all of this. And from PlaybookSports.com, our favorite, one of our favorites when it comes to any kind of handicapping, the great Mark Lawrence, World Championship handicapper, joins us here on the show. Mark, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing real good, Defo. I hope you're doing just as well. And I caught a little bit of the end of the conversation you were just having, and I'm only going to assume it might have been about all the ads for sports books and telling people to bet responsibly. Is that what it was all about?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you have every commercial block has at least 2 ads now in an NFL game, which is amazing because they didn't want to touch this, right? Remember when that they would have Jimmy the Greek kind of imply that there might be some action on these games, and Phyllis George's hair was standing up like Don King. They're talking about gambling. I can't be a part of this. And now, I mean, warmly embracing it, but Yeah, I mean, I thought that was sound advice, was it not, Mark Lawrence? Only bet what you can afford to lose. This is after they're telling you that it's like real easy to win. Like you should be betting in-game parlays throughout the broadcast.
Let me run this quick little story by you guys here. I had approached FanDuel, who is amongst the worst when it comes to these offshore sports books, as far as pillaging their customers. Okay.
Yeah.
So a good friend of mine, he's been in the industry a long time. His name is Craig Carton. He's up in New York. He got a little bit of gambling.
yeah.
Aware of Craig Carton. Yes, well aware of Craig.
Had some issues, sure.
Right.
A bit.
So Craig settled his issues, and FanDuel signed him as a head spokesperson about betting responsibly. Probably the last person they should have. But,
of course. Because he's reformed now. He's seen the light.
He's learned. So he's the guy that can go.
That time in a slammer helped him out. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So Craig and I are real good friends from my days back in Cleveland, Ohio. So we had been talking about, and I had launched a thing called Sports Data University, which was a university to teach people how to wager, not only responsibly, but to teach them how to actually win in gambling.
In the long run.
So in the long run. So we circled back to FanDuel and asked them and said, hey, you guys are one of the leaders in the industry. This is something that maybe perhaps you ought to wrap your arms around. And their answer, what they came back with was, we don't want to do that because we don't want to teach our people how to win and beat us.
Of course not. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Are you kidding?
The VIG isn't enough, I guess.
You're gonna win regardless. You might as well at least look like you care about them. Like you're always gonna win.
So now they roll out this Bet Responsibly campaign again, which is just fluff, is all it really is.
Yep.
And sooner or later they're going to be called out under the carpet. And I wrote a little column. I think it might have been the Coffee Club about how it's just getting absolutely sickening. Every NFL football game you watch, the first commercial you see is about DraftKings or FanDuel or betting and, making and everything. And sooner or later, somebody's going to have to step in here and do something because there's going to be a major, major problem here as long as they're allowed to continue to keep doing it. That's my soapbox opera take on all that stuff.
Like Defo.
Oh, no, I mean, it's absolutely hysterical when you see what's going on. Now I don't mind because I've been, interested in gambling and degeneracy my entire life. Even if I'm not playing, I still, you looked at that game last night, my immediate thought when that guy fell on the fumble in the end zone for the Browns at the end was, oh, my God, what if that impacted? It turned out it was inconsequential to the over-under because I think the total was already eclipsed. But I thought, wow, the total could easily be like 41 in this game. Imagine losing on that. That's what they don't teach you about or talk about on these commercials. Well, why don't they have a guy that's ready to put a bullet in his head after taking a beat like that, Mark Lawrence?
Exactly.
And Al Michaels implied the same thing. And the truth be known that anybody that bet that total early got in on that early number. So it did affect some of the early players.
Oh, yeah.
The game
really?
for large amounts of money.
Oh, geez.
Exactly right.
Can you imagine?
Exactly.
I don't know that I was sweating out, the overtime game with Arizona because, the funny thing, what's great about being a degenerate is you're rooting for something in 1 minute and then you're rooting for the exact opposite to happen to the team in the next second. So Arizona gets that touchdown to get within the point spread, which I was trying to cover 5 and a hook at the end of the game with no time left. And then you're thinking the last thing I need them to do here is actually win the game. So the team you were rooting for all along, now you want them to, fail on a play because you don't want to go to overtime and have even the slightest risk, that the Raiders were going to score a touchdown on the opening drive and then you lose to the 5 and a hook. Yep. They don't talk about these elements of torture in any of these commercials. When Kevin Hart is diving into the pool after hitting a 16 parlay, he doesn't seem to be concerned about these sort of things, which I think they would be wise to bring up.
Well, they're all self-ingrained to a lot of gamblers, degenerates, and everybody else because you always play out the scene that's going to happen after you've gotten where you want to be within your bet. The kickoff, the fumble, the return, the fall, the hook and lateral fumble into the end zone, those types of things. So.
Oh, my God. What else can go wrong? This is why, I guess we understand relationships and can accept the pain of failure in those endeavors, affairs of the heart, because we know what it's like to just be stuck with hideous losses. I mean, impossible conditions that lead to your demise. And, that's never mentioned in any of the ads. Although I did get a kick out of that because if you're only betting money you can afford to lose, I guess it's much more acceptable to keep getting pounded by FanDuel and DraftKings. It's interesting, too. It's like the NFL, Roger Goodell. I think back to that leper scene in the movie Papillon that I referenced earlier in the show, where he has to decide whether or not to smoke the cigar. I don't know if you remember the movie, Mark Lawrence, but, and he's in this leper colony, and the guy passes him a cigar, and he obviously has to decide, does he want leprosy, or is he going to take a shot that maybe this guy's not contagious? And, he wants to get a boat to get off the island, so he takes the puff of the cigar. And it seems like you could see Roger Goodell doing the same thing with the DraftKings and FanDuel people. Because it's like he's injecting himself with the very thing that he thought was a disease to begin with.
Exactly.
And you have to wonder, I mean, when you see some of these calls, if they're not in on the fix a little bit, the National Football League.
Well, that's where it all leads to, is you have to scratch your head and wonder, why this hypocrisy, 2-3 years ago in the National Football League abhorred gambling, although you knew they were completely behind it, especially when they were giving weather reports in every football game. What was the reason for that, for the NFL totals?
And the injury report.
See where they stand right now. Exactly right. The injury report, But you did mention Phyllis George. It took me back in time. I remember the Aquanet hairspray days. She looked like she had her hair all up and doing all those things.
You don't want to light a match near her. I'm glad they didn't allow smoking on the set there with Musburger and a Greek. Although a very attractive woman who went on to distinguish herself, I guess, very well after people were appalled about the idea of having a woman talking about football. Our dear friend Leslie Visser, I'm sure, caught her share of that. Yes. In the beginning, but seemed to be widely accepted because that's the way she comes across. As you would
very
definitely
knows the stuff. Yeah, you don't.
Yeah, and this is true. I mean, any guy would want to watch a game with Leslie Visser and be sitting there sucking down a couple of beers and having her share her insights into what's going on. All right, Mark Lawrence, PlaybookSports.com. We want to get down to business now. Some of the theories have been brilliant. Hasn't necessarily worked out, as well as we are accustomed to with the plays on the show so far. But I keep telling people it's early. And, once you get this thing cranked up, are you finding any indicators that, sort of go against the grain early in the season so far, college and pro football, that might have thrown a couple of, unfortunate knots into the equations as you try to put these theories together?
Well, as you mentioned here, it hasn't been the best of starts, and I can attribute a lot of that to just the fact that form has not been holding up, or I should say form has been holding up, and, a lot of these chalky type teams keep winning football games despite the odds that they're up against. But sooner or later, this stuff does turn, and I think we've got an excellent weekend this chapter. Just that to happen this week.
All right, and I don't know if you have this number, but, and I'm not sure if this is going to be one of your picks, the Bills-Dolphins game. But, and I would imagine, you might be inclined, obviously, to take the points. You would always be inclined to do that with the Dolphins at 5 and a hook now. But is there a number out there, the percentage of times that an NFL team has been on Monday Night Football and gone on the road the subsequent week in terms of their ability to perform against the point spread?
I don't know if there's a number out there, Defo, but there's something really strange inside of the sequencing involving the Buffalo Bills this week, and you mentioned the Miami Dolphins. And from a biorhythm type standpoint, that the Buffalo Bills began the season on Thursday against the Rams, and they went in there and they obliterated them. Then they played the following Monday night, okay, and now they're coming back on Sunday. So they're playing 3 games inside of 3 weeks, all on different days of the week, Thursday to Monday to Sunday. And that just does not fit within the biorhythm makeup of the football player here. And I just watch and see if they don't struggle a little bit this week against Miami here.
Yeah, 2 night games. That's the kind of number you would come up with. A team coming off 2 night games, subsequently playing a day game south of the equator where the temperatures are going to be in the hundreds.
Yep.
It was like 0-15 in that spot against the number. I thought you might come up with something like that. All right, we want to get into your plays. Mark Lawrence, PlaybookSports.com, always with the underdogs, and usually giving us 2 college, 2 pro games here on Degenerate Friday. So the stage is yours, Mark Lawrence. What do you have for us this week?
Well, college football, we're going to play a couple of inside-out dogs, and these are what these are.
Inside out.
These are one inside out. They won as touchdown underdogs last week, and now they're touchdown favorites this week. That's a big, big swing. And just also coincidentally, these teams who won those games last week as touchdown dogs were out-yarded in the football game. So they're sort of smoke and mirror victories, if you will, and now they're going to dress up as favorites, and I don't believe they'll handle the role. The first is going to be, we're going to fade Kansas and take 7 points with Duke. You've got Kansas coming in here off of last week's win. They were a 9-point dog who won the game straight up. Now they're coming in here laying 7 points to Duke, who, by the way, Kansas got drilled in the stats in that win over Houston in the victory. And Kansas just happens to be 1-23 their last 24 football games against undefeated football teams.
Wow.
So, they're going to lay a touchdown into this undefeated Duke football team, who also knows how to beat Big 12 teams. They're 4-0 straight up and against the spread the last 4 games against teams out of the Big 12 conference here. This has got all the makings of an upset. I like Duke plus the 7 points against Kansas. I
saw that was a favorite play of a couple of handicappers that I was looking at and seeing their suggestions. So Duke, a very live dog, according to Mark Lawrence, against Kansas, getting 7 points. All right, what else you have?
The other guy, we're going to play Southern Mississippi and take 12.5 points against Tulane. Tulane beat Kansas State as a 13.5-point dog last week. Now they're going to lay 12.5. Do the quick, simple math. That's a 26-point swing in the line here against Tulane, who also was out-yarded in the win over Houston. So this big, huge, complete role reversal, an inside-out dog play against Tulane will play Southern Mississippi plus the 12.5.
All right, very good. 2 college plays, Mark Lawrence, PlaybookSports.com. Now, does the in and out theory still apply with your pro selections this week?
You have a pro theory?
Yeah,
it's hard to fit 4 of those games under this umbrella, which is always part of the genius of these segments here with you, Mark.
Well, we've got to a degree a sprinkle of that this week. And what happened last week in the National Football League is there were 6 embarrassing red-faced teams that lost football games in horrific ways, down the end of the stretch. So we call these our Rod Serling specials because those games were right out of the twilight zone. And
Serling specials. I like that.
The Rod Serling special. We're going to fade these twilight favorites this week that were in those bizarro type football games last week. The first, we're going to play New England plus the 3 against Baltimore, who had that, as we all know down here, that maddening ending to the Miami Dolphins football game. Now Baltimore's got to get back up and lay points into a New England football team after having blown a 21-point lead in the fourth quarter. I believe I read somewhere where teams were 711-0 until Baltimore blew that apart last week. Yes. So we're going to play New England here. Comes into this football game as a dog. Bill Belichick as a dog. Anytime at home, put me on him. I'll play New England plus the 3 against Baltimore for the first Twilight Zone special play.
All right. Very good. Mark Lawrence, PlaybookSports.com. New England Patriots getting 3 points at home against the Baltimore Ravens, who were losers in wild and Serling-like fashion. I don't even know if Rod could have written that script. As the Dolphins came back in the fourth quarter from 21 down and then came back again after losing the lead. That was as impressive as anything for my money because, you stage a wild comeback and sometimes that takes everything out of you. And they still had the wherewithal to come back and overcome what was a potential game-winning field goal by the Ravens late in that ballgame in the fourth quarter. All right, and your other play in the pros, Mark Lawrence.
Play number 2, we're going to fade Las Vegas, again, off another bizarro finish against Arizona, as you talked about earlier here, the way Las Vegas lost that football game. Tennessee got blown out by Buffalo, so they could be angry and mad as well. Tennessee plus the 2 at home. And this is kind of a game where you have to ask yourself, what's the psyche of each of these 2 football teams? Tennessee getting blown out like they did. Vegas, that bizarre finish last week. Which of these 2 football teams do you feel will be able to come back and be able to play a good football game? And I'll say this, if you asked Dr. Jennifer Melfi to analyze these 2 football teams, okay?
Yeah.
She would say it's probably most likely the team whose coach will be able to make the adjustment after what happened to open up the football season here. And if that's the case, I'm going to stay with Mike Vrabel, who happened to be the National Football League Coach of the Year last year, against Josh McDaniel, who's never coached a National Football League team until this year. So I think there's a big edge with Tennessee here at home, +2 against Las Vegas, who I think will have a very difficult time trying to rebound after that Arizona finish. So we'll make Tennessee our Rod Serling's Twilight Special play number 2 on Sunday.
Wasn't Devontae Adams also in the Twilight Zone in that game?
Yeah, he didn't do anything.
I mean, he had like 2 catches or something like that in the game against Arizona. And no, naturally they're going to try and take him away, but nobody was able to take him away when he was with Green Bay under the same circumstances as the number 1 target for Aaron Rodgers. So McDaniel's supposedly this offensive genius, not finding a way to use what would appear to be his most potent weapon, which is something I guess we can credit Mike McDaniel with doing. Once he got to the fourth quarter, and all of a sudden, there you had Waddle and Hill making 11 catches apiece for the ball game, and each going over 170 yards. Mark, your information, all your stuff, the morning cup of coffee. How do we get access to all of that? Because I know the fans enjoy this, and the statistics and the quantifying sabermetrics and analytics are just sensational, and probably a lot of money has been made paying attention to this over the long haul. So where can people get this information?
Well, everything we do, we publish 3 newsletters, actually the Playbook Weekly newsletter, the Playbook Midweek Alert newsletter, which is our statistical horse racing form of football newsletters, and the Totals Tip Sheet, the only over-under Totals Tip Sheet in the country. You can get that all online at playbooksports.com. If you decide to subscribe to any of them for the seasons, the Super Bowl, you'll also get my morning coffee club in your email box each and every day. I kind of like overview the football card or whatever the sporting card is each day. That's a complimentary bonus as well. So check it out all online at playbooksports.com.
Does your phone blow up when something like that happens? So like in the game last night, where a wagering number is decided on a fluke play like that at the end of a ball game?
No, my phone doesn't, because actually I was not involved in the game last night, and but the closest I ever came to that was when I was in Cleveland, Ohio. Our offices, we were on a pretty popular street, and we were in a real nice building, and we had a bad week, and one weekend we come in, the next weekend the building was egged, just totally egged.
Oh, no.
And it was in the winter, so it was ice egg.
Froze.
Yeah, right.
Oh my God.
Nothing like a good egging to get you motivated to maybe have more favorable results. Excellent, Mark Lawrence. Always a pleasure, my friend. Great stuff, great conversation. Really enjoyed having you on the show, and thanks so much for joining us on Degenerate Friday.
Thanks, Lawrence, man.
Hey, my pleasure as always, guys. You be well, stay safe, and let's hope the ball bounces our way this week.
Have a great week.
Looking forward to that. All dogs again there, Lubie. All dogs again.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. It's a kennel club, man. I mean, you're getting nothing but dogs there with Mark Lawrence, which is great. And the logic behind it. I did not have a number, though. We have to find that one out. The number of times in the history of the National Football League since the inception of Monday Night Football that a team, what was that, 1970? Browns and the Jets?
Sure.
The inception of Monday Night Football. I remember standing in a dorm room in St. Mary's when I was at Syracuse there, and it had to be my freshman year, second semester. No, it was sophomore year, first semester, 1970. And there we were, and it was like, holy shit, there's a football game on now. It was great. All right, we're coming back with Mike Mayo, the Gambling Gourmet. That's how we'll finish things out on this Degenerate Friday. He had some selections. He got touched up a little bit, Mike Mayo. I think he's coming back, though, to his sporting instincts. So, you wonder, he seemed like he didn't care about sports anymore, didn't he? He had a very blasé attitude. Yeah, I don't care. I don't watch nothing. Yes. Now, all of a sudden, he's giving selections. He's got horses. So I think he's really coming back around, this kid. I don't know what happened to him. Is it the trauma of divorce? I don't know. What do you think? Because he's rounding back into form. He really is.
Went through probably a very bad stretch. He said, screw this.
Yeah, the paper was collapsing. I mean, he had a lot of things that could have been working on, kind of filing away at the cavities of your mind. All right, coming back with Mike Mayo, the Gambling Gourmet, in a moment. Now that.
Time.
It's 8:44.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously. Friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs, unmatched. Steaks, hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9060.
All right, we have the Gambling Gourmet with us, Mike Mayo.
Well, yeah, and you know me, when it comes to like pro football, I usually like to sometimes handicap games on which is the better food city. Where would I rather eat in? My mom, God bless her, 88 years old, and she follows some football, and we do a family pool where we make picks, and usually her is based on which city she would rather visit or live in.
Okay.
But college football, for me, it used to be, I always thought that the quality of the football team was in inverse proportion to the amount of teeth in the crowd. So, like,
Grab a bagel and a schmear, plus some Defo and Lubie. Welcome back to the Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show. Again, with the rose-colored glasses, this kid. It just never stops. I guess since he's been getting some, I don't know if you want to consider this like in a groupie mode, but it seems the last two times that Mike Mayo has been out in public where I've been a witness to what was happening, women are clinging to this man and flocking to see him.
Yes.
Like we had brought John Lennon back from the grave or something.
I guess it's, like I didn't realize that, like the pheromones or something that gives off that aura. It must be
the
cholesterol.
What is it?
The cholesterol
the hair?
numbers must just be like people must be attracted to the.
Yes, because it's funny how this show has evolved to you stuffing your face with a lot of great food and then reading medical reports. As part of the thread, as you never used to include that in your articles in the Sun Sentinel. By the way, my cholesterol was at 237, and the guy said, "Hey, what are you, Don Carter?"
So you know how there's this internet sensation of the mukbang videos? It's like these Asian women that stuff incredible amounts of food in there, and it's become like this fetish thing. But I've gotten now it's like the neurotic Jewish version of mukbang, which is like stuff yourself and then talk about your medical results, and it appears to be working. It was very nice yesterday out at Grandpa's, and
that was a great place.
That one woman who
she's actually watching this morning, so you can say hello. She was actually
great, yeah. And, we learned her name and everything. I mean, you guys were able to hang out a little longer and enjoy her company.
It's great, and the fact that she thanked us for we left over a little knish, and I guess she had a little bit of the spinach and feta knish, and I said
potato was outstanding.
You can nibble on my knish anytime.
Yeah,
that's fine. So
you can feel my knish anytime. Is that what you said to her, Mike Mayo?
Oh,
you have to be careful, man. You're going to be like Udoka, man. We're going to have to suspend you for a year.
Oh, we can't have a little food fun anymore in the morning, so that's it.
No, the rose though. Grandpa's in Dania. That would be reason enough to put the. I discovered my dog Skippy is Jewish, by the way, yesterday, courtesy because there was such a massive amount of corned beef on that sandwich. I tossed the bread. I was telling myself I'll save this for like today, which was yesterday, and instead I started sampling a little bit of the corned beef, and my dog was giving me a look. And the way that he sucked this down, it rivaled the way that you ate that sandwich.
Right.
Which dogs have a tendency to do anyway. But he actually started speaking and barking in Hebrew after that. So it was great. That was the real deal, that Grandpa's. It was fantastic.
No, I can't wait. And I'm calling an audible in deference to Lubie being actually absolutely consumed in home buying hell or home selling hell and acting as his own agent, which isn't there like a saying like only a fool would represent himself as a lawyer.
Lamar
It's the
Jackson.
same thing
As a
goes.
lawyer, not as an agent. I mean, it's stupid to
Oh,
be.
not as an agent. Okay,
No,
you
it's
get to
stupid to
keep
be an
the
agent
money.
and pay someone else. Like, why would you
No,
do that?
well, I know that, and between that and the actual high holy days, I think on Monday we are going to not have a lunchbox show because I've got a bunch of family engagements and my daughter's off school. I got to take her to the eye doctor, so we'll take the day off on the lunchbox on Monday afternoon. So we'll just do a replay of the Grandpa's show in deference to Rosh Hashanah.
Oh, it's Rosh Hashanah.
People need to see that. They need to see that anyway. I mean, the way that that one half of the corned beef sandwich, you know, and it was just a little bit lopsided, you know, because the one half was slightly smaller than
the head
other.
tilt is key, so you get the kind of the appropriate angle.
How do you do that, man? Do you squish it also? I mean, are you?
There was a little squishing. I don't know if that's considered cheating, but you know, it's
Yeah.
you work with the sandwich, you work with what you're given, and then you just kind of jam it in there, and it was great. I mean,
Great stuff. No doubt about
now,
it.
my lone regret is that I didn't slather it in mustard beforehand, and it was a little gross the way I had to kind of do the corned beef, and it was getting a little dry.
Dripping,
and then I did the mustard chaser. I didn't want to squirt the bottle directly in my mouth. That would have been too gross.
You came close though.
But
would you do that with mayonnaise though? Squirt the bottle right in your mouth
no,
if you
I
forgot
thought
to put it
about
on the
but
sandwich?
Then, but then I just I squirted on my finger and then did the finger chaser with the mustard on top. And
I'll say this: none of the food there, as much as I love deli mustard, needed.
No,
mustard.
you didn't need it.
No,
You almost didn't want to, kind of have any effect and take away from the natural, beautiful, and
Great
flavorful
flavors,
taste
moist.
that they had. Yeah,
it had been sitting out for a little while because we were there doing the whole show, and so it kind of gets a little bit dried up, and that's where you kind of get the lubrication of the mustard going there. So,
all right, Lubie was all over the
sexy
mustard
food
thing,
talk
but,
this morning.
I thought it was great. Great
Lubrication
bagels
with
too. Grandpa's.
Yes.
All right. So,
I'm wearing,
yes, go ahead.
I'm
Give us
wearing the
explanation.
glasses in deference to the Dolphins. I mean, they're 2-0.
Yeah.
We're 2 down and 7 to go for the season-long win total bet, which at 8.5 now. It's you don't want to get count your chickens.
Here's
they
a
hatch.
giant step forward in that regard. I mean, if you win this game, you stole like 2 games that people thought they were going to lose.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a 1-1 start. I thought Baltimore on the road was going to be the loss. I thought they were going to win the season opener, but I'm happy to be a little bit ahead of the game. And now I'm going to get a little bit greedier with the picks this week. I just think that all these things that are trending in the Dolphins' favor. I think the Bills have played lights out for 2 weeks, so I think they're due for a letdown, especially with the heat. And so one of my picks, and I went 1-2 last week. I'm honest about my shitty picks, and that I'm
It's not
trying
that
to
anybody
hide
else is
anything.
dishonest. It's just that Lubie has a horrible time tracking the picks.
Well,
and thank goodness our listeners are on it because we believe in accountability in this sort of. If you're 1-15, you're 1-15. That's what it should be.
No, Lubie, I guess he's just like the Trumpster. If you just telepathically think
he thinks
that
won
somebody beat the spread, then they did. That's it.
Yeah.
So that's
I
it.
thought this place was 30,000 square feet. Turns out it's only 11, but I thought it, so it's so. I think therefore I am. Is that not his philosophy? Somebody else got a lot of credit for making that statement.
Oh yeah. No, he's the master of. Well, I don't know what. Whatever. Everybody's after him now. Hey, talking about I'm getting off the picks for a second, but I heard you earlier in the show about getting this call out of nowhere from the.
Oh yeah.
The collection.
This is so bogus.
It
It's troubling because it's so lame that there's no way that this could. I can't believe there's any record of this whatsoever.
As somebody who's been through a divorce and my share of strategic defaults, as I call them, there's nothing worse than having that, some vulture firm that buys it for literally 2 cents on the dollar.
Yeah.
But they buy these files and they don't even realize that it's already been settled. Because I had a case of where one of these old cards were. I think they wrote it off, so they get to write it off to the IRS as not even a bit. But then I got tagged with the forgiven debt is considered taxable income. All that's dead and buried over 10 years ago, and then all of a sudden you get these letters from this firm trying to collect. But the letter it has the most beautiful thing. I never answer the phone. They were calling too, but. They have the most beautiful sentences in the letter, which is, because of the age of this debt, we cannot sue you for it. And because of the age of this debt, we will not report you to any credit bureaus because of it. And so it's like, why are you
Why would you?
And
wasting
why not
your
just
paper
go fuck
and
yourself,
stamp?
right away? Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
why would you do anything with
Now,
it?
I'm not calling them to tell them that. They
Yeah.
realize it, but there's a couple of, I guess,
Why would you
suckers out
waste
there.
4 or 5 telephone calls? This guy's, left me several messages, and I couldn't even imagine what he was talking about. And then I realized what it was because one of the messages had like a detail that triggered, what this situation, the only thing it could be, and it was like a non-entity. I mean, it was resolved actually verbally between an attorney and
Well,
me
there's no such
many
thing as
years ago.
resolved
Yeah.
verbally, Defo. That's come on. You're old enough now. You got to get everything.
But
in
there
writing.
no action was taken. I mean, this was a
No.
place that would have taken action had they
Yeah,
really
yeah.
wanted to pursue
And once
this
you're beyond the
themselves.
statute of
Yeah.
limitations, which is, I believe, 4 years in Florida.
Oh, is it really?
for
All right.
unsecured credit card debt? Ask me how I know these things. You live long enough.
Oh,
you
good.
learn
It's
things.
good to talk to you then. My lawyer now is Mike Mayo, the Gambling Gourmet.
Lawyer, doctor.
What if the judge, though, had seen you on this performance yesterday at Grandpa's? He would be likely to, feel inclined to go ahead and rule in favor of the opposition.
Maybe. But
Yeah.
meanwhile, don't ever pick up the phone because you never want to do anything that'll start the clock ticking.
Yeah.
And even if you make like a payment of $1 that you think
There will be no
there's
payments made here unless
of
something
course.
bizarre
Of
happens.
course
I
not.
mean,
But
have
again,
to
if
be
you
waiting.
ever get a letter from them in writing and it says because of the age of the debt, we cannot sue you for it, then you just laugh at it and
I
throw
frame
it into
it.
the yes, you frame it.
All right, what do you have for us on the selections?
Oh,
You're,
so
you're
on the
going. It
picks.
sounds like you're leaning towards the Finns this week.
Well, what I'm going to do
Will
is I'm
they
going
be
to get a
throwing
little
matzo balls at the Buffalo Bills as they leave the stadium in honor of Rosh Hashanah?
in Rosh Hashanah beginning Sunday at evening. But no,
At least getting hit with a matzo ball wouldn't be so bad.
I'm going to go a little crazy on this one. I'm going to do whatever they call it, a teaser parlay thing.
Okay.
And by the way, the line on DraftKings this morning was down to 5, so it seems like the Dolphins
5,
are
wow.
taking some action. But I want to do one of those teasers or whatever where I want to add on 6 points. I want to get the Dolphins plus 11, and I'm going to go the over.
Strong, yeah.
The over is at 52, and I want to take that down 6 points to 46, and and a hook. Now it's at 52 and a hook for the under over. So I'm going to go down with the teaser. So get the Dolphins plus 11. And get the over at 46.5, and that'll be one play there. We'll see if that happens.
All
I'm
right.
getting a
You know
little
what's
fancy.
funny about teasers? It seems so practical, right? Because you're debating whether to go ahead and take the Dolphins with the 5 points. So now getting 11, you're thinking, well, that's a cinch. And you're thinking there are going to be points scored in this game. So your inclination would be maybe to take the over at 50-something. So you're definitely taking it at 46. And then it's amazing that the teasers routinely go up in smoke.
That's okay. I'm willing to take that leap because I'm already ahead of the game with the Dolphins, and I just I want to have a rooting interest, and I think I want to try to. Yeah, well, it could blow up in my face, but that's okay. I'm willing to take
Mike
that
Mayo's
risk.
teaser special: the Dolphins and the
Plus
under.
11.
Or the
Dolphins
over in
plus
that game.
11
Dolphins
and the
over.
over 46 and a hook. So
Beautiful.
That's
All
right. And then the two other plays. I'm off the Notre Dame angle because now everybody realizes how terrible they are, and they shouldn't be a home dog against North Carolina. I'm staying away from that game. I'm also off the Jets angle because even though the Jets, I want to bet against them no matter what. Getting 6 points at home against the Bengals, who look absolutely putrid so far, I'm staying away from that game. So I'm going to two other weird games. There's a lot of home dogs this week, 9 games featuring home underdogs. And I'm actually not taking any of them. I'm going against a home dog. I'm going to take the Kansas City Chiefs, giving 5 and a hook against the Indianapolis Colts. Indy at home. Indy has looked absolutely like horseshit so far.
Got shut out by
and I think the Chiefs are one of the best teams in the AFC. So 5.5, I'm willing to give that on the road. So I'm going to take the Kansas City Chiefs against the Colts. And the last game is kind of a really boring game, but it's the only one I kind of had a feeling like Seattle at home against Atlanta. And I think they're only giving like 1. And so I'm going to take the Seahawks at home because it's a tough road trip to go into Seattle, as Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos found out. Atlanta, I know they're a division rival, but I just don't like that cross-country trip for them. So I'm going to take the Seahawks as a home slight favorite.
Do you have an interest in the Mohawk Million?
I don't. I'm on like I told you, Defo, I am taking a rest from the ponies. I am making mind bets, but I'm not making
This is Jugheads, though. Jugheads going at Mohawk.
Well,
That's better.
forget
It's
that.
not
No, I can't
worse.
do
Yeah.
that. That's even worse.
Isn't that
Why don't you
worse?
just have me bet on the highlight players at Miami Highlight or something?
Where is Mohawk, man? Somewhere in Western Canada? Where the hell
I think
is
it's
this
a
joint?
Canada. I think it's an
Like
Ontario
fucking
thing.
freezing there, even
Yeah,
in
no,
the summertime.
I'm
It's
not
amazing.
betting. I'm not betting trotters. I'm not betting anything that could break stride and then you like
Yeah.
completely fucked. I'd rather have a horse.
Were you a fan of the great
thoroughbred.
Big Red, Carmine Abatello, or are you too young
Of
to remember
course,
Carmine
no.
at
And I
Roswell
used to
Raceway?
go to Monticello Raceway when I was at the Boy Scout
Oh,
camp.
that's
and
right, man.
What
Borscht
bet? My troop number was 521. We would do 521
do
boxes
the 1, 2,
all day
5
long.
box.
Yeah, that's it.
As opposed to starting a little campfire, you were up there blowing up cash at Monticello with all of the Jews on the Borscht Belt.
It was great.
Oh
Those
my
were the
God.
days. But no, I don't bet the trotters or the harness racing anymore. And I'm on the
You
shelf.
have discipline there. You really do, Mike. I
Not when it
respect
comes to eating, because boy, was
No,
that we'd
that
be
was great.
remiss without mentioning what an utter an abject failure I am in the weight loss bet. So now I owe you guys
Fish Shack got a
Fish
very
Shack
favorable review
meal.
on Let's Eat
Instead
South
of
Florida.
losing 12 pounds, I lost 2. An absolutely pathetic performance. But
I think it's heroic you lost too. I would have bet that it was a push.
You do these
after 2
remotes
weeks.
at Grandpa's. I'm surrounded by like slaughtered cows, and then I go to Gilbert's and I'm surrounded by slaughtered cows, and it's just like all this delicious meats
And beautiful women now.
burgers and
Beautiful women flocking to
and
see you,
it's
yes.
going out with Dickstein and Bar 25 and all just a good looking crowd there. And
Is Dickstein over that little flap that he had with
we're
us
fine.
the other day?
Everything is good. We
Everything's
just move
good?
on.
All right,
He's
yeah.
got the attention span of a gnat. So
All right,
no,
beautiful.
he moves on. We just
Yeah.
keep moving forward. And I wanted to give a shot in to my visiting friend Eric El Cheapo. He's been partially redeeming himself, but because he took me out to dinner last night, it was nice. We went for Peruvian food, but he is still El Cheapo, because here's this for a gambling version. So this is what he does. We went to the I don't even know what they call it now. The Big Easy, the Big Sleazy, the Mardi Gras
dog track,
track, where they don't race dogs anymore. But we went to play poker. He had to get one of a player's card in order to register for the poker tournament. And when he's signing up, he's a new member. And they said, "Oh, we have a promotion. You get $50 in free play if you just put $50 into play in the slot machines."
Okay.
But El Cheapo was too cheap to even get the free play. He didn't want to put the $50 in and play that to get the $50.
He would have got his 50 back.
He just didn't want to do it.
Oh, but he would have had to play it. Okay,
You'd
so
have to
maybe he
play
made a
it.
good decision. Yeah,
I don't know. I say you put in the 50. Maybe you end up after that first 50.
they're giving you a free
70.
50. Yeah.
You get the extra 50 after that. You play with that, and then at the end, maybe you lose 20, maybe you win 100. Just take a chance. No, El Cheapo was too cheap to get the free
That's
play.
probably why he has money and we don't. What do you think?
Honestly.
It's very, very possibly true, right? He seemed to be very well off, not lacking for anything, this guy. And he's living out in the woods somewhere in like Portland, Oregon.
Portland, Oregon. He's living the Portlandia life. Very crunchy granola.
Rains there every day, and their hero is Steve Prefontaine. I mean, a guy that was jogging in the woods 20 miles every day until did he fall on a rock? No, it was a car crash. Steve Prefontaine, unfortunately. Yeah, a little sports car driving it up a winding road. All right, Michael, we'll see you at 12 o'clock today. And then
yes,
no
we're
Rosh
going to do a
Hashanah show?
lunchbox today, and then we'll have a 3-day weekend on the lunchbox. So we'll
Leslie
give Lubie a little
Visser
time
says,
to
"Hey,
pray.
what do you call the festival of around Rosh Hashanah for the non-Jews?"
I don't know. You get free school days off for
Feast of Immediate Seating. Right, because you can go in anywhere pretty much and get a table, right?
Especially especially at Chinese restaurants this Sunday night. So that's the good part.
Oh yeah, and I don't think the Duck House will be open by then. There's nothing going on there, my friend.
Duck House is
OOP out of the picture. All right, Michael. Yes,
I was going to give the viewers out there, because Gambling Gourmet, I'll give you a choice if those who are missing Peking Duck House, but it's a little bit further north in Boca, so that's good for the Visser. Place called Chili Crab, and it's not one of these crab houses where they boil crab in a bag. It's actually like a proper Chinese restaurant in a nice little setting. It's just off Glades Road and Dixie Highway, but it's called Chili Crab, and they do a really good Peking duck there, and they do some really good. They get all the seafood crab and stuff, and they do it in like a the chili sauce or the garlic sauce and stuff. It's an excellent place. So chili crab, my
Chili
pick for
crab.
Chinese this Sunday for those who want to capitalize on the lack.
Chinese food
of,
and football, I think, goes well also. I mean, a lot of
it's a
people
great-
would say, chicken wings and nachos and ribs and burgers and hot dogs, but I don't know. I mean, my bowl of fried rice on that Monday Night Football game is always something I look forward to, even from May's Kitchen, where you have to wonder if you walked into a check cashing store or not. The way they've got the place outfitted right now. All right, Michael, we'll see you at 12 o'clock today, right? Mike Mayo's Lunchbox.
We'll see you then.
Going to do it again, and we're looking forward to that. Excellent job on the show today, as always. And we thank the people for tuning in today. A lot of good participation on the chat line there. We always appreciate that. For Mike Lubitz and Mike Mayo, I'm Jeff DeForest, and we will see you at noon on South Florida Live with Mike Mayo's Lunchbox. So maybe a more sedate edition today, as I don't know what kind of food Mike has at home, but we'll see you then.
Thank God.
And if you want Brandon Lang's picks, they're on our Believe podcast,
Yes.
BLEAV.
Yes.
Very, very confident, this man, when he makes selections. So, but honest, I mean, he'll give you the real count. Went 4-2 for us last week, and we'll see how he does this week. It was an interesting conversation. That's BLEAV Network. And you can catch Brandon Lang there, and you can pop that up, download that at any time. All right, we'll see you next time as we leave you now that.
The time.
And our thanks to Hialeah Park, of course, their continued support of the program. We definitely are in deep appreciation of that. And Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, all of our fine sponsors. It is 9:05.
Let's go to eat a damn snack. Look what they brought.